Going on. Let's see what's going on.
Kelly of El Salvador for an official working visit here at the White House. They will discuss El Salvador's partnership on using their Supermax prison for Tren de Aragua and MS-13 gang members, and how El Salvador's cooperation with the United States has become a model for others to work with this administration. On April 17th, President Trump will welcome Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni of Italy for an official working visit at the White House as well. The president's thoughts also remain with the families and communities experiencing devastating loss from the severe storms and flooding affected several states across the central U.S. President Trump approved emergency declarations for Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee.
Well, that's good. That's good because I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, and like my yard flooded. The front yard flooded, the backyard flooded, all of that. And I called the city like water department. You know how like if you own a house, like they make you pay like a fee. Like you don't even know until like you buy a house. They make you pay a specific fee so that they can like make sure, you know, like the water like escapes if there is like a flood or whatever, which is like, you know, they force you to pay the fee, whatever, you're gonna pay it. But then like my house flooded. So it's just like not my house, but like my whole property. So it ended up messing up my driveway. So I called the city and they're just like, oh, we'll call you back. Well, the water department, they're like, we'll call you back. So now I got to figure out like who's responsible, because it's like, yo, you don't want to do like a insurance claim because it raises your insurance. So it's like if the city don't do it, then I might have to sue or something like that, because the water was coming from the other side. So I don't know.
Allowing FEMA to provide federal assistance like equipment and resources to support state and local emergency response officials who are leading this response on the ground. Last night, the Supreme Court delivered a massive legal victory to the Trump administration and allowed us to continue removing.
That is true. Like I ended up reacting to that. What was it yesterday? Or talking about that yesterday. So they, the federal judge that was trying to act, you know, use politics at the bench, I would say. They said that he didn't have the authority to stop Trump from what he was doing. So I think that was a big win. So the Trump administration can continue to deport people if they need to.
Moving foreign terrorist invaders under the Alien Enemies Act. This was a smackdown to a rogue left-wing, low-level district court judge who have relentlessly tried to stop President Trump
what's
from
up, y'all? If y'all can't hit the like button, what's up, Pierre J?
Using his core constitutional powers as head of the executive branch and as commander-in-chief. The highest court in the land made it clear that the President of the United States has the power to protect our homeland and forcibly remove foreign terrorists who pose a grave threat to families and communities.
And I thought that was weird, too. It's like, why would a judge stand in the way of him trying to deport illegal immigrants that are committing crimes? It's not like illegal immigrants that are here, like doing well and all of that. It's the people that are committing crimes, like MS-13 type people. Like, why are you like trying to stop him from doing that? It's crazy.
Thank you to the Supreme Court for upholding the rule of law and protecting the Constitution. Our message to the monster Tren de Aragua and MS-13 terrorists still hiding illegally inside our country is clear. Deport yourself now, or you will be locked up and sent back to your home country. On another,
she said, deport yourself now, or you will be sent back and locked up to your country.
Matter, the historic Liberation Day announcement last week by President Trump.
C. Breezy said the terrorists are crazy. What's crazy about them? I think at midnight we issue like a 104% tariff on China.
Trump made it very clear that the era of American economic surrender is over. President Trump is no longer going to allow American workers and companies to be ripped off at the hands of foolish trade practices that shipped away millions of high-paying jobs and hollowed out communities across the country. It's America first, all the way. And despite fear-mongering by the media, the world is clearly responding to President Trump's approach. Just yesterday, President Trump held a bilateral meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu here at the White House. The Prime Minister pledged to immediately eliminate America's trade deficit with Israel and remove their trade barriers.
Now, you guys do understand a lot of companies are coming to the table, right? So you've got Vietnam. They want to move from like 90% tariff down to 0. You know, I think that was interesting.
Israel's proactive approach should serve as a model for the rest of the world. Also yesterday, the president spoke with Japan's prime minister, who wants to negotiate as well. The president also spoke with the acting president of South Korea this morning. He has tasked Secretary Bessent and U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer to lead these talks. In total, since the Liberation Day announcement, nearly 70 countries have already reached out to the president to begin a negotiation. Countries are falling over themselves to reform their unfair trade practices and free open their markets to our country. Why? Because these countries greatly respect President Trump in the sheer power of the American market. These countries realize they've gotten filthy rich over the past few decades by imposing substantial tariffs on American-made products and ridiculous non-monetary barriers to block out American industry. The jig is up. Past American presidents sat by and let this happen, but President Trump stood up for our country, and he is saying no more. The president's message has been simple and consistent from the beginning. To countries around the world, bring us your best offers, and he will listen. Deals will only be made if they benefit American workers and address our nation's crippling trade deficits. America does not need other countries.
So one thing is, like, Europe wanted to come to the table, and I don't care what that lady from the EU is coming out and saying, oh, we're going to start looking at other countries to start trading with and look at our opportunities. She was talking about countries that are super small. United States is huge. Like, we are a big country, right? So our dollars mean a lot. So, like, her saying all that really didn't mean anything, because Europe wanted to go from a 10% tariff on our vehicles down to 2.5%, I think it was, on the vehicles being imported and exported there. Like our vehicles being imported there, they wanted to reduce it from 10% tariff down to 2.5%. They also wanted to do a 0 for 0 tariff on other particular goods. And Trump was like, I mean, that's cool and all, but, you know, EU, like United Nations, they've been taking advantage of Americans. Like, yo, when he said that, it was just like, wow. Because he didn't even care that they really wanted to come down, you know, come and negotiate and try to do like a 0 for 0 tariff. He was like, no, we shouldn't have any deficits with any of these people. I loved when he said that, bro. I never thought we would actually have a president. Like, that sounds crazy. You know, people thought that JFK was going to be a real president. It's like, that's why they got rid of him. Nobody could control him. He was going to do what he wanted to do. Ever since JFK, there's been nothing but, I would say, puppets in office. And then we get Donald Trump that says what he's going to do. And he does it. Everything that he said he's going to do, for the most part, he does. Unapologetically. He's not running. The difference between Trump and Biden, when something goes down, Biden would go into hiding. And he would, like, you probably wouldn't even hear him talk about a particular subject for like 3 weeks. And he might just like glaze over the subject. Trump meets reporters head on. And he's willing to take whatever comes with it. And he's just like, yo, if he feels like you asking him a silly question, he's like, yo, that's a dumb question. Next question. Like, yo, they caught him like getting on a plane and he like explained the tariff thing. He was just like, a lot of these countries are like taking advantage of us and we're tired of it. Yo, I loved when he said that, bro. Loved when he said it. Let me change my my audio settings real quick. Cause I don't want to be wearing all this. I feel like jail wearing all this. I'm not doing that. See this.
As much as other countries need us. And President Trump knows this. He's going to use the leverage of our markets and our country to the advantage of the people he was sworn in to represent. On the other hand, countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break, and America will not break under his leadership. He is guided by a firm belief that America must be able to produce essential goods for our own people and export them to the rest of the world. A strong America cannot be solely dependent on foreign countries for our food, medicines, and critical minerals. And America must always maintain a robust defense supply chain. Reprioritizing and strengthening our manufacturing industry are essential national and economic security issues of the utmost importance to President Trump. By focusing on supercharging the onshoring of American manufacturing, the president is already delivering on his promise to usher in an economic golden age for our country. Just look at Friday's jobs report, which smashed expectations for the second straight month. The American economy added 228,000 jobs, nearly 100,000 more jobs than economists predicted, and the fourth highest month for private payroll growth in the past 2 years. There was also a sharp increase in transportation, construction, and warehousing employment. And in just 11 weeks, President Trump has secured more than $1.5 trillion in private sector investment. This is $500 billion more than Joe Biden secured in his entire term. This record-breaking private
what? And investments and trade commitments across the globe.
Sector investment will create roughly 350,000 American jobs and counting. If you add up all of the investment pledges from foreign governments, President Trump has secured an incredible...
Christian Medwick said eggs tomorrow, $25. Hey, Christian Medwick, you know egg prices have went down. Egg prices have went down. Interest rates have went down. Like, so, I mean... Yeah, the market went down a little bit, but if you think of, if you look at when Joe Biden was in office, the market was a lot lower. So the market went down. It had like a little dip, and people were like panicking and losing control over a little dip. But when Biden was in office, let me see if I can show y'all this, bro. I think I might have put this on my Twitter. Somebody even did a video on it. Let me see if I can show y'all on my Twitter. I think I might have put it on my Twitter. Hope he not using music or not. Yo, your boy been low-key going viral. Yo, my TikTok been blowing up, bro. I got 40-some thousand subscribers and 4 videos. That's crazy. No, I didn't say, but the guy is basically showing the stock chart and showing, oh, here it is right here.
Woke, because I'm sure as hell not gonna stop your damn right I'm with the economy. Are you?
You mean this? Because this is where we're at right now, just so you know. Right up there, that little dip, that's us. This was the last 4 years, okay? And I don't remember you guys freaking out about the economy getting destroyed then, right?
You see what I'm saying? He's showing, yo, this is when Joe Biden was president. And he's showing 22 to 23, how low that is. And then up here, is he's showing the little dip when Trump is in office. That's a big difference. So man, I don't care what these Democrats are saying, bro.
$5 trillion in total investments already. In the months ahead, President Trump's pro-growth economic agenda will be fully realized. The largest deregulatory effort in American history is underway. Unnecessary, burdensome, costly red tape.
If y'all can't hit the like button, I see people in here. I'm gonna try to read y'all comments, but y'all hit the like button if y'all can.
Is being eliminated by this entire federal government every day, driving down costs and massively boosting small businesses. So far, President Trump's deregulation effort has already saved Americans more than $180 billion, equivalent to $2,100 per family of 4. The president's drill baby drill energy agenda, which he will discuss later this evening in the East Room, is capitalizing on the abundance of natural resources under our feet to generate more affordable electricity, cheap gas, and quality new jobs. All of this will combine to end the Biden-imposed cost of living crisis that's absolutely crushed American families. Under President Trump, the American energy industry will lead the globe over the next century, delivering lower prices and significantly strengthening our country's economic position. At the president's direction, Republicans in Congress are working quickly to...
But y'all do realize that, though, right? Interest rates are low, gas prices, oil prices is low, egg prices is low. So, I mean, whatever he's doing is working. So I don't know. Like, I mean, they like, one of the things that they try to say about Republicans or Donald Trump is that he's only looking out for the millionaires and billionaires. Well, if the market has destabilized, which he's using that, I feel like, as a measure to get countries to get on board and lower their tariffs, right? Because the companies are going to start getting pressure from the shareholders. Shareholders are going to pull out, start buying out bonds, which is just going to give government more money to where they can like borrow against if they need to, which is going to lower interest rates as well. So it's like, I think he's destabilizing the market just a little bit by continuing to talk about tariffs. And that's going to scare companies to where the companies can be like, all right, well, we're just going to move to the United States so we can avoid the tariff. Because that's what China was doing, right? So what they were doing to avoid any type of tariff, they were really just going into Canada and going into Mexico and bringing their product up through there so they can circumvent the tariff. So, no, I'm President Trump. Canada gets a 25% tariff, Mexico gets a 25% tariff, and China gets a 25% tariff. So we don't stop that. You know what I mean? And then if you want to do a retaliatory tariff, then we automatically go up. And then Trump announced again today that he's going to raise it like another 50%. So after midnight tonight, I think the tariff is going to be like what they got on China. I think he's going to say 100, and we're going to watch the video. I think he said like 104% is what is going to go up tonight. So that's going to be interesting. Like, businesses are going to have to react. Yeah, somebody said egg prices are down 16%. They're down. Remember, hey, Christian Medwood, remember you was in here and you was saying, oh, egg prices is high. Hey, they down now. They're down.
To pass one big, beautiful bill, which will also include the largest tax cut in American history. As President Trump has said, the House must pass this budget resolution quickly. Here in our new media seat today, we have Jasmine Wright, the White House reporter for Notice. Notice is a nonprofit and nonpartisan news site which launched in early 2024.
Yeah, exactly. Off the top said, y'all stay scared and let the market keep dropping. Bro, I am excited that the market is getting lower. One of the things you do not want to do as an investor is to buy stocks when they are high. That makes no sense at all. You want them to be lower. Have y'all like looked at stock prices and like, oh man, I wish I could buy this, but it's a little bit too high. Now you can kind of buy up things if you want to.
They've gained millions of readers across the country since.
And like
newsrooms go.
Catholic Rock said the stocks are going to go back up. It's mandatory. It's gonna happen. You know what I mean? It's the market. It's legalized gambling. You take your risk. You know what I mean? Like, they will go up.
Goal is both to inform readers and train the next generation of politics and policy journalists.
And like, I just went to Trader Joe's earlier. Prices of groceries was like lower. Like, I was surprised. Like, and this is what somebody said that. I did a TikTok today. It did like yesterday. I think it did like 125,000 views or something like that, right? Or 180,000 views, somewhere around there. And people in the comments, if you go to the TikTok and you look at the comments, people are saying like, yo, I just went grocery. It did 217,000 views. For some reason, like, my TikToks be going viral. I don't know why, but 217,000 views. And it's people in the comment section saying, yo, I went grocery shopping and the groceries are lower. This is something that people are not talking about. But some people say, oh, they're higher. Like, no, like, some things are lower right now.
Journalists. They also partner with state newsrooms and to give local communities more knowledge of what their representatives are doing in Washington, D.C. With that, please kick us off, Jasmine.
Thanks so much, Karoline. A couple questions for you. The first one being, can you explain the White House's evolution from this is not a negotiation on tariffs to countries should pitch us and start negotiations on tariffs?
Somebody said grocery prices are higher. No, it said prices of fresh vegetables fell by 1.7%. What are y'all talking about? So what are y'all talking about?
As the president said yesterday, Jasmine, both things can be true at the same time. And it is a non-negotiable position that the United States has faced a national security and economic crisis because of the unfair trade practices by countries around the world. As for the president, I have maintained this position. The entire administration has always said that President Trump is willing to pick up the phone and talk. And the president met with his trade team this morning, and he directed them to have tailor-made trade deals with each and every country that calls up this.
And y'all do understand, like I said earlier, like countries are coming to the table. Argentina, like all these, like they're coming to the table. They're trying to figure out how can we lower, because they do not want to lose out on like the United States American consumer market. We are big spenders, you know, and Trump is leveraging that, and I'm glad he's doing it. Like we are worth something. Democrats, I feel like this. They have been selling us out. They're trying to get illegal immigrants to flood in here. And you hear what Jasmine Crockett said. What is she? Let me show y'all what Jasmine Crockett said. This lady is out of her mind, bro. Let me show y'all what she said. This lady is crazy. I think I may have liked the tweet. I don't think I retweeted. I think I liked the tweet. Let me show y'all her. Lady is insane.
So I had to go around the country and educate people about what immigrants do for this country, or the fact that we are a country of immigrants.
Right, right.
The fact is, ain't none of y'all trying to go and farm right now. Okay, so I'm lying. Raise your hands. You're not. We done picking cotton. We are. You can't pay us enough to find a plantation.
I know that's.
So what? So people who are here, illegal immigrants, they're gonna pick cotton? Is that what she's saying? Jasmine is a nut job, bro.
Administration to strike a deal and listen. And each and every one of these trade deals should be tailored and unique based on that country's markets, based on that country's exports, the imports here in the United States of America. What makes the most sense for the American worker and for our industry? The president is focused on putting America first.
So was the evolution not factored in or determined by kind of the tumult in the stock market? Was that not a part of the consideration to start making these negotiations and deals?
Again, I would reject that there was an evolution. On day one, we had said that the president will always pick up the phone for other nations and other companies that call this administration. The president always has a listening ear, and it's a non-negotiable fact that America has faced a national security and economic crisis for many decades, and President Trump is just the first to address this.
And then my last question, how will negotiations change how much revenue the White House is planning to make from the tariffs?
Well, that has yet to be seen, but as the president said, the reciprocal tariffs, which will continue to go in effect as these deals are negotiated and ongoing, will generate trillions of dollars in revenue to the United States. And this is twofold. The president wants to onshore jobs here to the United States of America. He wants to boost our manufacturing industry. He also wants to tackle these crippling deficits with almost every single country around the world. Jackie.
Thanks, Caroline. The Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, warned that some of these negotiations might take up to months, that we could be doing this through April, May, and into June. And then you had Kevin Hassett say it's going to take a lot for the president to put his signature on the line, so he wants to make sure there's a good deal for America. Is the president operating on any sort of a timeline or deadline where he wants
Exactly. VT said 80 other countries have already come to the table.
this completed by?
Well, we always move at Trump speed here at the White House, which is incredibly fast. I know you all know that from covering this White House day to day. The president likes to get things done, but he's very much focused on ensuring that these deals are good for the American worker. They are good for American manufacturing, and again, that they tackle these crippling deficits with these countries. All options are on the table for each country, but again, these are going to be tailor-made deals. They are not going to be off-the-rack deals, as the president has called it, and he has directed his entire trade team to be part of this effort. So that includes Secretary Bessent and our National Economic Director, Kevin Hassett. It also includes Secretary Lutnick, Peter Navarro, the entire trade team, Jamison Greer, who was on the Hill today. Everybody who was involved in this incredible, fair, reciprocal trade agenda will continue to be involved in negotiating these deals.
And then yesterday, Goldman Sachs put out a research note. It put the odds of a recession at 45% within the next 12 months, up from 35%. But Peter Navarro guaranteed last night no recession. Does the president agree with him on that? I know the president in the past has been leery of making definitive statements on that.
I can speak for the president, and I can speak for the optimism that he sees.
Bro, why are they talking about a recession? They acting like the stock market just like crippled
in our economy every day. Again, when you talk about the massive deregulatory efforts that are happening across the board, when you talk about how oil prices are down, gas prices are down, egg prices are down, we're cutting
costs. You see what I'm saying? Gas prices are down, egg prices are down, like
for the American worker, for the American consumer. We also see trillions of dollars of investments pouring into this country every day, and we're working hard now on the tariff side of the president's economic agenda. But don't forget, the next side of this is tax cuts, and we're counting on Capitol Hill to get those done, the largest tax cuts in history.
Does that mean that without those tax cuts coming through, that the likelihood of a recession is greater?
No, that's not what I said. I'm just saying be mindful.
Like, what are you talking about? Like, first of all, lady, why are you in, like, talking to Karoline Leavitt and you got some Adidas on? These Democrats, bro. This lady is at the White House talking to Karoline Leavitt. She got her Apple MacBook Pro and she got some Adidas on, bro. She got a lawyer's suit on with Adidas is on.
One of the reasons these tariffs are going into effect is that some countries have been ripping off the United States, but some of the tariffs target countries like Madagascar, Bangladesh, with very high levels of poverty. So can you explain how the president wants to correct the deficit with those countries? Is there a plan, for example, to onshore the textile industry that these countries are known because, and, you know, just like, can you be specific about those, like, low-income countries?
Well, first of all, the reciprocal tariff rates that were implemented by country were focused on the monetary tariff that those countries have imposed on the United States, but also the non-monetary tariff barriers and the regulations, if you will, that have been put into effect over the years, making it harder for America to export to these countries. These were very carefully crafted numbers. There was also a 10% baseline tariff across the board, as well, as you know. Moving forward, the president will talk to any country that picks up the phone to call, and I can tell you the phones have been ringing off the hook, wanting to talk to this administration, this president, and his trade team to try to strike a deal. And it's because the world knows that they need the United States of America. They need our markets. They need our consumer. The president has a lot of leverage on his side because he has the best economy and the best country in the world that he leads, and he knows that. And it's about dang time we finally have a president who uses that economic leverage to benefit American workers. And that's what the president is trying to do. Maggie.
Caroline, thanks. Does the president endorse something that Howard Leavitt said on television this weekend, which was that the army of millions and millions of human beings screwing in little screws to make iPhones, that kind of thing is going to be moving to the U.S.? Is that how the president envisions manufacturing shifting? And if so, how long would that take, roughly?
The president wants to increase manufacturing jobs here in the United States of America, but he's also looking at advanced technologies. He's also looking at AI and emerging fields that are growing around the world that the United States needs to be a leader in as well. So there's an array of diverse jobs, more traditional manufacturing jobs, as you discussed, but also jobs in advanced technologies. The president is looking at all of those. He wants them to come back home.
But iPhones specifically, is that something that he thinks is the kind of technology that can move to the U.S.?
Absolutely. He believes we have the labor, we have the workforce, we have the resources to do it. And as you know, Apple has invested $500 billion here in the United States. So if Apple didn't think the United States could do it, they probably wouldn't have put up that big chunk of change. Elena.
I like how she answered that.
It's clear the president has gotten the world's attention with these tariffs. Is he considering at all potentially holding off on imposing some of them before the deadline, or maybe later, reversing them because he's having these negotiations and having these good talks with other leaders?
The president was asked and answered this yesterday. He said he's not considering an extension or a delay. I spoke to him before this briefing. That was not his mindset. He expects that these tariffs are going to go into effect. And you said something very important, Elena, in your question. You said the president has captivated the attention of the world. Absolutely, he has. And it's about time we have a president in the Oval Office who is putting the world on notice and is putting the American people first, and again, is using the leverage of the United States to negotiate good trade deals.
Just a quick follow-up. There's been some public sparring between Elon Musk and the president's trade advisor, Peter Navarro, on some of these tariffs. Musk actually referred to Navarro today as being, quote, dumber than a sack of bricks. Are you at all, or is the administration, the president, all concerned that this is maybe impacting the public's understanding of these tariffs? It might be messing with the message on it?
No, look, these are obviously two individuals who have very different views on trade and on tariffs. Boys will be boys, and we will let their public sparring continue. And you guys should all be very grateful that we have the most transparent administration in history. And I think it also speaks to the president's willingness to hear from all sides, that he has people at the highest levels of this government in this White House who have very diverse opinions on very diverse issues, but the president takes all opinions in mind and then he makes the best decision based on.
If you think Apple's going to charge $3,500 for an iPhone, you're crazy.
The best interests of the American public. Deanna.
Thanks, Caroline. On Truth Social today, Trump was talking about one-stop shopping talks with foreign leaders, bringing leaders to the U.S., to Washington, and talking to them about tariffs, but also other topics. So is that part of his strategy to bring the leaders to Washington and trying to get deals, outside of tariffs on foreign policy issues as well?
I think the president, again, is going to have a custom, tailor-made approach to each and every country. And if that means discussions of foreign aid, of our military presence in these countries, how those troops are paid for, come to the table, that could be part of the negotiation in these economic negotiations. But it's the president's economic team who will be leading these. These are tariff and trade negotiations. And yes, they will be one-stop shopping for each and every country. They will be, as the president said again, tailor-made, not off the rack to each and every country based on America's needs.
And can you confirm?
How are you? Thank you. It's good. Kara from Lynn's LTV. So President Trump has designated Tariffs as a foreign terrorist organization and deported its members while also moving to restrict Venezuela's oil exports. Is the administration preparing additional military or economic actions against Venezuela and the Maduro regime? And my second question is about Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett. Is the administration have a comment on her decision to go with the liberals and go actually with the Tariffs? This is the same justice that actually sided against January 6th hostages last year. So is the administration have a comment? Are they disappointed in Supreme Court Justice Amy Coney Barrett?
To your first question, I don't have any actions to read out in terms of Venezuela. The president has imposed secondary tariffs on the Maduro regime and on Venezuela in the form of oil, which is obviously going to have a crippling effect on the Maduro regime, and that's the intended effect of this administration. As for the justice you mentioned, as for the Supreme Court, we've made our feelings very clear. We believe this was a massive victory. Certainly, we wish this was a 9-0 decision because we firmly believe that the president was well within his constitutional authority, and the Supreme Court made that very clear last night, and they put Judge Boasberg in his place. We called on the Supreme Court to rein in these judges who are acting as judicial activists, not real arbiters of the truth and the law, and that's exactly what we saw the Supreme Court do yesterday. Christian.
Thanks, Caroline. Now that the president's reciprocal tariffs are here, going into effect tomorrow, what's the status of the ERS? When will they actually start collecting revenue? And will that be nested under CBP or somewhere else entirely?
It's something Secretary Lutnick has taken up, so I defer you to the Department of Commerce, but it's something that he and the president believe quite strongly in, and it's a promise that they intend to keep to the American people.
Real quickly, can you explain why the president opted to send Secretary Hegseth to the dignified transfer last week instead of attending himself?
Sure. The Secretary Hegseth was there to represent the administration. The president has expressed his condolences to these families, as have I from this podium. Shelby.
Thank you. The president's trade representative this morning told senators that the president does not intend on carving out exemptions for products and companies when it comes to tariffs. But would the administration consider changing that stance should bankruptcies begin among U.S. companies who are dependent on China trade?
I won't get ahead of the president on any exemptions or his decision on that. I will leave that to him. But again, we're looking at this country by country and based on the needs of the American people and the American workforce.
And one more, can you walk us through how this specific tariff plan was decided on and which advisor came up with it?
The reciprocal tariff plan? It was a plan that was discussed by the president's entire trade team over the course of many, many meetings, and the president ultimately decided on which way to go. A few proposals were given to the president. There was debate and discussion, and the president made his decision. And as you've seen very publicly, the entire trade team is on board with this plan and the negotiations that will ensue because of it. Sure.
Caroline, on Iran, and given what's going to be happening on Saturday, what exactly is the current administration doing to stop Iran's funding of terrorist aggression worldwide that the previous administration wasn't doing?
Well, first of all, when it comes to Saturday, I won't get ahead of the president. He has said there will be direct talks with Iran on Saturday. I won't further any details from this podium for obvious reasons.
Direct talks with Iran
and security reasons.
Shout out to P. Jeezy. He's a member on the channel. He said, Papa Boy, you got the speaker email address. I want to see if I can take her on a date to the chicken spot.
And we'll, provide an update as we always have. However, when it comes to Iran, the president has reimposed crippling sanctions on the Iranian regime, and he's made it very clear to Iran they have a choice to make. You can strike a deal with the president, you can negotiate, or there will be hell to pay. And as the president said yesterday, if they don't choose to move forward with diplomacy and a deal, which is the direction we do see them headed in, there will be grave consequences to pay. The back row.
Thank you, Caroline. On the president's threat yesterday on social media to increase tariffs against China by an additional 50% in response to their retaliation, has he signed anything in terms of an executive order, any documentation around that? Will that additional 50% go into effect tomorrow?
They will be going into effect at 12:01 a.m. tonight, so effectively tomorrow, yes.
Paperwork on that today?
Of course, as always. To the gentleman in front of you, because that's who I originally called on. Go ahead.
Over the weekend, President Trump said that he would be willing to have U.S. citizens deported to El Salvador with the cooperation of President Bukele. How would that work legally, and how many people would potentially be available for that operation?
So the president has discussed this idea quite a few times publicly. He's also discussed it privately. You're referring to the president's idea for American citizens to potentially be deported. These would be heinous, violent criminals who have
Hoodie 504 with the 199. He says she a baddie.
Broken our nation's laws repeatedly, and these are violent repeat offenders in American streets. The president has said if it's legal, right, if there is a legal pathway to do that. He's not sure. We are not sure if there is. It's an idea that he has simply floated and has discussed very publicly as in the effort of transparency. Reagan.
Thank you, Caroline. There's been more reporting coming out now about President Biden's decline while in the White House. Is the White House considering releasing the audio of Biden's interview with Special Counsel Robert Hur to the public, which the former president had previously blocked?
I don't have an update on that, but I can certainly check. I think the American people would be quite interested to hear that tape, but I'll double check on the release of it. Thank you. Michael.
Thank you, Caroline. On Saturday, during meetings with Iran, President Trump says high-level officials will be meeting directly with Iranian officials. We're hearing some pushback from Iran now saying those talks will be indirect. Can you clarify?
They will be direct talks on Saturday, and I won't get ahead of the president on any further details. Jennifer.
Yeah, two things. On the Israel tariffs, can you give us an update on the discussion on relaxing those tariffs? And then I had another question about the Doge team after that.
That discussion is ongoing. I don't have any definitive details to iron out for you here.
And then the president on Thursday told us that there was an incredible discovery that the Doge team had made. He called it horrible and incredible. Can you reveal that yet? Give us details on what it was about?
There has been a discovery. I hate to leave you hanging on a cliff, but I don't want to get ahead of the president on that. But I can confirm there has been a discovery. It's just not quite yet ready for release. Sure. Go ahead.
Caroline, thank you.
I was calling on the young lady behind you, but I'll come to you after, Ed.
All right.
Not discriminating here.
The president is meeting today with House Republicans. Can you say who is in that meeting and his message to Republicans that are skeptical of the Senate-passed budget framework?
Sure. The president will be meeting with Republican lawmakers today here at the White House to talk to them about the framework that the Senate passed. The president was very quick to put out a statement about his support for the reconciliation package that the Senate passed, and he is counting on House Republicans to pass it. The Republicans received an overall...
Y'all do know she young. I think she like 27. She young.
overwhelming mandate from the American public to govern. We have an extraordinary opportunity. There are key promises that the president made to the American people in this bill: tax cuts, securing the border, deregulation, unleashing the might of American energy. These are good things for the American people. The president wants to see this get done, and that's why he's engaging with lawmakers today.
And just a quick follow-up on tariffs. Kevin Hassett said today that the administration is prioritizing talks with Japan and South Korea, other trading partners. Are there other countries on that list that you guys can name publicly that you're having serious discussions with?
Sure. As you have heard from various administration officials, myself included, there have been nearly 70 countries that have reached out to the administration last time I checked. But again,
70 countries reached out to the administration. Interesting.
I hear the phones are ringing off the hook. There are foreign leaders who want to fly to Washington tonight and get on a plane to negotiate with this country, which shows you the leverage that the president is using. It shows you the rest of the world needs the United States of America.
One thing I do like about her, it seems like she really loves her job. That's very hard to find, like, in America, period, with people. Like she really believes in, like, what she's doing. So I think that's good. Like, it comes across, like, her energy, like how, her vigor and what everything that she's doing. Like, I think she really rocks with the president. She likes the administration.
To do business with. Israel, obviously, yesterday, you heard a public statement from Prime Minister Netanyahu. The president has detailed his calls with the leaders of Japan and South Korea. We are going to prioritize our allies and our partners around the world first when it comes to these negotiations, and the trade team will be divvying them up again to make tailor-made trade deals around the world. Ed, go ahead. As promised.
Yes, thank you. You mentioned the 70 countries or so. I'm curious, though, under what conditions at this point would President Trump talk to President Xi about tariffs?
Look, I just spoke to the president about this, and he believes that China wants to make a deal with the United States. He believes China has to make a deal with the United States. It was a mistake for China to retaliate. The president, when America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight. But the president believes that Xi and China want to make a deal. They just don't know how to get that started. And the president also wanted me to tell all of you that if China reaches out to make a deal, he'll be incredibly gracious, but he's going to do what's best for the American people.
So China has to call first?
The Chinese want to make a deal. They just don't know how to do it, but the president will be implementing these 104% tariffs on China tonight.
And under what conditions might he consider lowering tariffs on China at this point?
It would be imprudent of me to tell you those conditions here from the podium.
Yeah, exactly. Like, why would she tell you the conditions on how to lower the tariffs? Don't make no sense.
Sure, Gabe.
Thanks, Caroline. With regards to the Supreme Court ruling on the Alien Enemies Act, you're right, it was a win for the administration, but the justices also said that deportees are entitled to due process. Does the administration agree with that?
That's not quite true, Gabe. They said that they are entitled to a habeas petition, and we are going to continue to comply with the law, and we are wholly confident that every single person that has been deported under the Alien Enemies Act, every person that will continue to be deported under the Alien Enemies Act qualifies for that deportation.
NBC News is reporting that the administration is considering drone strikes on drug cartels in Mexico. We're citing several officials.
Yo, what? They're considering drone strikes on cartels in Mexico? Whoa.
This morning, Mexico's president was asked about that, and she said that we reject any of those actions. Your response?
I saw that reporting. I don't want to confirm it from this podium. I don't want to comment on it because I'm not sure, but I would defer you to the National Security Council.
So you haven't confirmed the report, but with Mexico's president saying that she rejects any of that, what would your response be? How is the relationship then between Mexico's president and the White House right now over targeting drug cartels?
Well, first of all, the relationship between President Sheinbaum and President Trump is quite good, and I think both world leaders would tell you that. The president has been engaged directly with President Sheinbaum on a number of different topics, particularly when it comes to clamping down on the Mexican drug cartels, on clamping down on illegal immigration, human trafficking, drug trafficking through our southern border. She's taken significant steps towards doing that, but as for that specific report, again, I'm not going to comment.
Caroline. Two questions on trade. First, as a part of these negotiations, is it possible for countries to lower their tariffs below that 10% bare minimum that's been set?
Again, I'll leave that to the president to make those determinations, but I can tell you that 10% universal baseline will go into effect as these negotiations are ongoing.
Got it. And then what is your thinking just as far as low labor cost countries? Like if you've got a country like Vietnam that wants to negotiate, but obviously they have some advantages in terms of trade, in terms of the people there are not paid as much as American citizens. What is kind of the thinking? Can they still achieve a good kind of trade outcome with the United States?
Well, again, you're right to point out that different countries have different labor markets. They have different skills, if you will, different resources, and the president is going to take all of that into account. His team will take all of that into account when they're negotiating these deals. I do just want to point out one thing, that the president, everybody in Washington, whether they want to admit it or not, knows that this president is right when it comes to tariffs and when it comes to trade. In fact, Democrats have long said that the United States of America has been ripped off by the countries around the world. They just don't want to admit it now because it's President Trump who is saying that. In June of 1996, Nancy Pelosi spoke on the House floor. She urged her colleagues at the time to fight against the status quo trade policies that had contributed to America's trade deficit with China. In fact, Nancy Pelosi said, how far does China have to go? How much more repression? How big a trade deficit? How many jobs have to be lost for the American workers? How much dangerous proliferation has to exist before members of this House of Representatives will say, I will not endorse the status quo? Those are the words of Nancy Pelosi in 1996. Well, President Trump is finally answering her call 27 years later. Nancy Pelosi can thank President Trump today for the 104% retaliatory tariff that will be going into effect on China. In 2007, Chuck Schumer spoke of our nation's crippling trade deficit, saying these are the kinds of records the American people don't want us to be breaking. The administration needs to move beyond words, take action now to reverse a trend that threatens our prospects for future economic growth. And Chuck Schumer said that in 2007. Finally, in 2025, President Trump is taking action. Recently,
first of all, I want to say to the cartels, I ain't got no problems with y'all. I want to put that out there. Thug life. I'm just saying what she said. I ain't got no problems with y'all.
Defeated Democrat Sherrod Brown said on deficits in 2012 that our deficit then at China had reached an all-time high, and it was on pace to exceed last year's record. The trade deficit had cost American workers millions of jobs at the time. These are the words of Democrats years ago. It is about time America finally has a president who is taking action to restore those millions of jobs back to the United States of America, to boost our manufacturing industry. He's doing what's right for the American people. It will take a lot of labor. It will take a lot of effort. But that's exactly what the American people elected this president to do. He will be talking about our energy agenda at 3 o'clock today over in the East Room. As you all know, he will be signing a bill to unleash the might of our beautiful, clean coal industry in this country, which is a reliable energy source also for AI.
Yeah, I want to see that.
Green, very green. They went so green they almost went out of business. Germany was finished. They went to wind. The wind wasn't blowing too much. And they went to all sorts of other things. You know, the Green New Scam hit Germany too. And
the Green New Scam. He is funny, bro.
Guess what? Now they're back to coal. They're opening up coal plants all over Germany. We're the ones that aren't doing it. I call it beautiful, clean coal. I told my people never use the word coal unless you put beautiful, clean before it. Right, Doc? So we call it beautiful, clean coal. Beautiful, clean coal. So today, thank you. Today we're taking historic action to help American workers, miners, families, and consumers. We're ending Joe Biden's war on beautiful, clean coal once and for all. And it wasn't just Biden, it was Obama, and there were others, but we're doing the exact opposite. And all those plants that have been closed are going to be opened. If they're modern enough, or they'll be ripped down and brand new ones will be built. Now, we're going to put the miners back to work, and I said I was going to do this, and I've said it loud and clear, and it's time to do it, and we need it. And I look at these people behind me. I don't want to have any arm wrestling contests with any of them. but they've had a little more practice with lifting things, I will say. But they are great people, and I know them indirectly for a long. That includes you guys for a long time, and they're great people and with great families, and come from areas of the country that we love and we really respect. And I want to thank Secretary Doug Burgum for doing such an incredible job. From the day I met him, I knew I wanted to have him.
All right, let's fast forward this a little bit.
Never heard that before. But Chris, you guys are fantastic. Stand up, all three of you, please stand up. Well, that's a great team. It's no better team than that. And they're going to produce energy the likes of which nobody's seen before. You know, we need to do the AI, all of this new technology.
All right, that's cool. But let's see. Let me check in with the dog, Jesse Waters, before we go to
prime time tonight.
We have a lot of countries come.
Mexican getaway plan inside the Ryan Ruth trial.
We have got to stop sending jobs overseas. To those of you in the audience,
remember when Ross Perot actually had a good plan and he didn't get elected? They were so scared of him because he was super business, but he had actually pretty good plans, which is interesting with him.
To business people, pretty simple. If you're paying $12, $13, $14 an hour for factory workers, and you can move your factory south of the border, pay $1 an hour for labor, have no health care, that's the most expensive single element in making a car, have no environmental controls, no pollution controls, and no retirement, and you don't care about anything but making money, there will be a giant sucking sound going south.
They called Ross Perot crazy, but after 30 years, they call him right.
I never thought he was really crazy. I never thought he was crazy. I was like, why didn't he win? That don't make no sense.
Bubba was wrong. He signed NAFTA and the giant sucking sound came from the South. And then he signed the China deal and the giant sucking sound came from the East. There were a lot of sucking sounds in the 90s. And Chuck was fed up.
We are fed up, Mr. President. The Chinese should play by the rules once and for all. But how can we stand by as millions of American workers lose their jobs, as thousands of American companies can't compete fairly? No one seeks political advantage. What we seek, rather, is fairness. Fairness in trade.
The party that represented workers, the Democrats, immediately recognized the giant sucking sound was bad for workers, but good for donors. Wall Street got rich off the giant sucking sound, and so did Pelosi, Hillary, Kerry, Gore, all of them. So they talked about it to win votes, but didn't do anything about it, and turned China into a monster, their monster.
I worked in a factory, went to factory in 1989. We made radial passenger tires for cars. I worked there with my dad, 8 of my uncles, and 12 of my cousins. I was a union steward there. That plant now sits in China because you can import small radial passenger tires pretty cheap because of our failed trade policy in this Democrats' opinion.
Detroit, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, St. Louis, Milwaukee, I could go on and on. They traded jobs and honor for cheap phones and TV screens. Trump's declaring an end to the giant sucking sound and decided to slay the monster.
Countries like China, who have chosen to retaliate and try to double down on their mistreatment of American workers, are making a mistake. President Trump has a spine of steel, and he will not break. And America will not break under his leadership. When America is punched, he punches back harder. That's why there will be 104% tariffs going into effect on China tonight at midnight.
So when the clock strikes midnight tonight, the battle begins. China will be hit with triple-digit tariffs. The export...
Triple-digit tariffs is crazy. He is not playing, bro.
Menace should have never retaliated. Trump believes he has the cards and likes his chances.
Trump has maximum negotiating leverage right here, right now. And I think it would be a mistake for anyone to think otherwise. I think it was a big mistake, this Chinese escalation. If you look at the history of the trade negotiations, we are the deficit country. So what do we lose by the Chinese raising tariffs on us? We export 1/5 to them of what they export to us. So that is a losing hand for them.
China had a plan. Dump cheap goods into the rest of the world, use the money to build their military, and pass the U.S. as the world's top superpower. But if China can't dump cheap goods here, and we're the world's biggest market, they have nowhere else to sell. They can't sell to Europe. They don't have the consumer power. And they can't sell to themselves because their birth rate's cratered. And once China can't sell, they have to lay off their workers. And the communists don't want a billion angry unemployed Chinese. That's how regimes get toppled. But we have to let Xi Jinping lose face gracefully. A quick, violent death makes us collateral damage. So we have to lower the Chinese casket into the ground diplomatically. While Trump's taxing Chinese products, he's kicking them out of the hemisphere. Pistol Pete's down at the Panama Canal today, flexing the Monroe Doctrine.
The United States of America will not allow communist China or any other country to threaten the canal's operation or integrity. I want to be very clear. China did not build this canal. China does not operate this canal.
Monroe Doctrine is a United States foreign policy position that opposes European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere. It holds that any intervention in the political affairs of the Americas by foreign powers is a potentially hostile act against the United States.
Now,
I like that Monroe Doctrine.
China will not weaponize this canal.
China bribed the Bidens, but boy, did they pick the wrong horse. Trump knocked the big guy out, and now he's wrestling their precious TikTok away. And Beijing's on its heels. Breaking China also guts Russia. The Chinese can't fill Putin's shaky economy, so now that Trump's engineered oil down to $60 a barrel, Putin's war machine's going to take a hit. Russia's influence in the Mideast is weaker than ever. Their proxy in Syria got picked off, and their other proxy, Iran, as we speak, is surrounded by 2 U.S. aircraft carriers, the USS Truman and the Vincent. Oh, and we have B-2 bombers waiting at Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean, while Trump's chief negotiator, Steve Witkoff, starts bargaining with the mullahs. Now, if they knock off their nuke program, we can bring Iranian oil back online and drive the energy prices down even lower. That'll hurt Putin, bring rates down, and take the edge off any inflation that the trade war triggers. And Europe knows where its bread's buttered. They can't afford their socialist welfare states without the American security blanket. And we're not going to give them that little blanket if they don't drop their tariffs. And they just said they're willing to go down to 0 tariffs. And if they kill their VAT tax and sprinkle in Greenland, we could have a deal. America dominating the Arctic is necessary for international security. And world peace costs money, which is why we need Ukrainian minerals. Who else does the world want on top? Us or China?
I feel
Trump's
like
logic is that
the Democrats seem like they are just mad at everything that Trump does. So it's like they want illegal immigrants to come in here. They don't like that Trump is trying to raise the tariffs on China. Like, okay, who y'all really working for?
China doesn't have the cards, and they're bluffing. China wants to make a deal badly, but they don't know how to get it started. We're waiting for their call. It will happen. And China can't afford to play the long game here because the rest of Asia is racing to negotiate with us. The Chi-Coms are...
EU backflips on tariffs is a humiliating display of weakness as Trump executes plan perfectly.
Isolated, and they know it.
President Trump made it very clear that the era of American economic surrender is over. President Trump is no longer going to allow American workers and companies to be ripped off at the hands of foolish trade practices that shipped away millions of high-paying jobs and hollowed out communities across the country.
Trump could go to China like Nixon did and rewire the world all over again. Give Xi a soft landing, let him put out domestic propaganda like he won. Who cares? Now, I don't know if any of this is going to happen or how it's going to end or when it's going to end. But I know every phone at the White House is ringing.
We're managing a massive number of requests for negotiations. It's actually logistically quite challenging just to go through them. It's something that I've been spending a lot of the time this morning doing, because at NSC and NEC, what we have to do is prioritize the meetings for the president, and there are so many to go through that, we're actually getting ready to present a plan for him on, who and when.
The White House is having to put world leaders on hold. Excuse me, Prime Minister, I have the Chancellor on the other line. What's a good time to call you back? Hungary is actually going around the EU's back and trying to cut a one-on-one deal with us. I didn't even know you were allowed to do that. Ursula is going to be fuming. The Philippines, Cambodia, Thailand, they're all ready to slash tariffs. But Trump's not just handing out deals willy-nilly.
We're taking in almost $2 billion a day in tariffs. $2 billion a day. And we're doing very well. And we're doing very well in making, I call them tailored deals, not off the rack. These are tailored, highly tailored deals. Right now, Japan is flying here to make a deal. South Korea is flying here to make a deal, and others are flying here.
Trump says his call with South Korea went great today. Aside from dropping tariffs, Seoul is ready to invest here and buy American. American companies are investing here, too.
Ford is America's #1 auto manufacturer, and we assemble more U.S. vehicles, and we employ more U.S. hourly auto workers than any other OEM. And we want to do more, not less, here in the U.S. 80% of what we sell in the U.S. is assembled right here in the United States. And it would be helpful to have certain parts here in the U.S., and the White House gets that.
If Trump can pull this off, and we hope he does, he'll go down as one of the greatest presidents in history. Maybe it's because he got shot. Maybe it's because he nearly went to prison, or maybe it's his age, or maybe taking 4 years off and coming back on the job, you got a fresh head. But he's going for broke, and he knows how to use power.
He ain't no lame duck. If anything, he's a soaring.
Yo, this is crazy. CNN is backing Trump on this. Like, yo, not on that, but they saying like, yo, he's not a lame duck. You can say whatever you want to say about him. He's moving the needle, basically. You know what I'm saying? He's signing executive order after executive order. Yo, when I seen CNN say this, I shared this everywhere.
Eagle. Get this. 86% of the American public believes that Trump's approach to presidential power is completely different from past presidents. You can agree or you can disagree with Donald Trump, but what you can't disagree with is that he's doing things very differently. I have used the Frank Sinatra quote before. He is doing it, quote unquote, my way.
Right.
Critics on the right and the left agree with the president's goals. Return the country to an industrial superpower for the...
Bro, he's got to clip it like that because of copyright, because CNN can get dirty. But bro, like they went on that, like they had this dude was talking for like 5 minutes, like positively about Trump. It was like, whoa.
The modern era. But they disagree on tactics. Trump says this kind of shock therapy was necessary. It's the only way to bring the patient back to life. And it scares the rest of the world into submission. You can't slow roll it. It'll never get done, because the next thing you know, here come the midterms. He's not tinkering around the edges. He's breaking it and putting it back together. And we pray we never hear that giant sucking sound again. Host of Mornings with Maria Bartiromo, is here. So how has the Trump strategy worked out so far, Maria?
Well, people are nervous, Jesse. Good evening to you. Look, what President Trump is doing is massive. He is taking on structural issues of this economy that very few, if any, president has wanted to do or dared to do before. President Trump is doing it. But his time is limited, and the timing is of essence. Right now, you're talking about markets in a tailspin. People are nervous. They are down. People have lost money. We're talking about a $9 trillion in market value loss wiped out in about a week and a half from the peak. So markets going down is not good. Right now, what you're seeing is expectations that the first quarter will be weak. Companies are putting IPOs on hold. They're putting mergers and acquisitions on hold. President Trump, his ultimate goal is to get manufacturing back to the United States. And how else was he going to do it? We've been talking about being independent for years. Everybody knows we depend on China for prescription drugs, which is wild. Everybody knows we depend on Taiwan for
tariffs on prescription drug companies. Earlier today, I seen him say that. I seen a video of him saying that. He's trying to make it to where pharmaceutical companies are making the drugs in America. And that's another thing too. Like, you got to understand, like, it is kind of weird that we get our pharmaceuticals from another country. We don't know what they're putting in there. Like, so, I mean, I think he's gonna use tariffs to try to get them to make pharmaceuticals in America. Like, this dude is not playing, bro.
For advanced semiconductor chips.
20 years from now, y'all are gonna be like, y'all kids or y'all grandkids are gonna be talking about this dude, and they're gonna be like, yo, you lived through Trump being president, and like, bro, he is gonna be one of the most prolific presidents ever.
And we use those chips in the military. Cannot be. President Trump is taking this on. But remember, if we don't see that manufacturing fired.
Yeah, like what she said. But y'all, look, remember when we had the chip shortage? That was terrible. Automobile prices went crazy. Like, even microwave prices went crazy. Anything that had a chip in it was super expensive. He's like, we ain't doing that no more. And we were giving these chip manufacturing companies hundreds of billions of dollars. And then when we had a crisis, they didn't give us no help. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't get any favor on that. So Trump's like, nah, like, we want these chips built in America. He's like, we're not going through none of this no more, bruh. Like, shout out to him.
Up in America soon. We're not going to see the Republicans in charge. It takes about 3 years for a company to fire up their supply chain in America, move the supply chain from Mexico, from Vietnam, from China, whatever, into the United States. 2 to 3 years. The midterm elections are next year. So if the Republicans lose next year and then the White House is lost, then the Republicans are no longer directing policy. So timing is of the essence. This is a huge, gargantuan task. I agree. These are things that America needs. We actually need somebody with a spine of steel, a tough man, to actually get companies to recognize these are not just economic issues. These are national security issues. However, timing is tight, and he needs a deal. At this point, we need to hear some win from Japan, from South Korea, from the European Union. We need to see some wins here on the books, because the stock market going down is not going to be helpful. It's going to be a big issue, a barrier for President Trump getting the agenda through. Now, we're on the doorstep of earnings season. The first quarter earnings reports will begin this Friday. We're not going to get a lot of guidance from corporate America. I can tell you that right now. Hopefully that's priced in, because companies.
Bro, she's starting to sound like a Democrat, bro. Like, what is this lady doing? Jesse Waters looking at her like, what?
Understand that they have no clarity. Jesse, this goes back to the interview that I did with President Trump last month. And I pushed him. We need clarity. Business needs clarity. They have to answer to shareholders and to other constituents. And they want to be able to say, we're investing this in infrastructure.
Listen, lady, like, his goal looks like to me is to destabilize the market. And so these companies that have the investors that are going to be like, yo, you know, what's happening with the money and what's going on with the company. And so they can get into a situation where they going to bring the companies to America to stop the bleeding. So, like, I mean, just trust the process, lady. Like, you sound like a Democrat right now.
Investing that in R&D. We're going to be seeing a growth story of this in the next 3 years. They can't do that right now because they don't have the clarity. Again, the president needs a victory. I'm hoping that we hear that in the coming days.
He's not so focused on Wall Street. He's really looking long term. And I know there's a tight window.
Yeah, talk to her, Jesse.
Here. So what is the time frame? If you could announce that Japan papered a deal and South Korea papered and Vietnam, and you could rack up a couple announcements that would maybe rally the market a little bit, is that the kind of momentum you're looking for on Wall Street? And what time frame? Are you talking Memorial Day, 4th of July, what?
Well, look, it's the right question, and certainly the Congress becomes that much more important now. We need to hear clarity on those tax cut extensions, and we want that clarity by Friday before they go and leave for Easter recess. So the Senate, the House becomes that much more important on executing the rest of President Trump's agenda. I'm talking energy capacity.
Hey, y'all can't say they're not, I mean, they're being kind of non-biased right here. Let's see what Candace Owens is saying. She's going off on RFK. Let's see what's going on.
I did do Howie Mandel's show the other day, as well as Jillian Michaels, and I'll show you some of those fun clips. And I realized at least this. I've definitely changed. I think my positions have not moved, but I'm completely done. I mean, totally and completely done with the left versus right game in politics, because it is now just so abundantly obvious that there is something much more sinister that is happening. When we elect politicians, they're on a platform, they say this, they perform, they promise us this is going to be the mandate. I'm going to clean up DC. And then we send them to DC and something happens. Something magical happens. And suddenly that magical thing is that really nothing they said they were going to do happens. The world really is becoming a stage. Maybe it always was a stage. And like I said, it doesn't matter who you elect. So no, there's no pivot. Like, I wish it was Kamala Harris. No. Okay. It does not matter who you elect.
So
it seems to be the same.
RFK Jr. and Hollywood Exposed. So, but I wonder what she's about to say about this dude, bro. I think she's saying that RFK, what they were talking about on Twitter is, he's like anti-vax, like with a lot of different situations, but it seems like he's promoting like vaccines now. And so she's calling him out. So I want to see what she said.
Thing that we see over and over again, politicians selling out the people that voted for them. I think Dave Smith, you guys know I love The Problem with Dave Smith is his podcast, summed it up really well when he looked at just the last 30 days of politics and said this. Take a listen.
I couldn't imagine whoever else the director of national intelligence was going to be being better than Tulsi Gabbard. I couldn't imagine whoever the head of the FBI being better than Kash Patel, or whoever the health secretary being better than Bobby Kennedy. But at the same time, you got Tulsi, cheering on leveling an apartment building, literally as they're saying to him, "Hey, we traced Missile Guy back to his apartment building where his girlfriend lives. So we leveled the building," and she's sending like thumbs up emojis, and saying, "Job well done, team." Every time I hear from Kash Patel lately, it's never about the criminals in government anymore. This guy was on a goddamn media tour for 2 years. Everything he ever said was that there's all these criminals in the FBI. We got to get these people who committed all these heinous crimes against our republic. Not talking about that anymore today.
Yo, this is interesting. Are they like changing up, switching up? Hey, we just watching like everybody else. Like, I'm trying, because like Candace Owens, she was like a staunch like Republican. Like, she was going crazy during the election trying to help get Trump elected. And then she backed off of politics and went into Hollywood entertainment. So like, I'm just curious in like the direction she's going to be moving into.
Now he's talking about bringing down drug dealers and sex traffickers. It's like, okay, but that's not what you were saying before. Then Bobby Kennedy is out fighting the real health crisis, which is anti-Semitism. So I'm just saying, looking around the room, looking around the administration at this point, I think we got the positives out of Donald Trump that we would get. But man, this all just points in such a bad direction. And it's disappointing. It's just really disappointing.
I mean, is it really pointing in a bad direction? No. But, I mean, there's a couple things even with me, right? So Pam Bondi was saying she was going to release the Epstein files. We never got that. So it's like certain things they say they're going to do, like we haven't gotten. Let's be real. You know what I'm saying? And then RFK, I see him like on Twitter. He keeps posting like some of the healthy things you can do. But come on, bro. Like, what are you doing with the food supply? You said that you were going to fix the food supply. Like, what are you doing to do that now? Did you just get in there and figure out you can't do it? Like, so it's like certain things, like I'm even looking at like, so people, I think they're starting to question some things.
It's I knew I would be disappointed, but it is on the level of a Greek tragedy that these guys had this mandate and this opportunity, and they're just it all up.
Yeah, you know what? Now that Dave Smith puts it that way, I feel like maybe it's not us that's pivoting, but it's them. Like there's just some magic pivot that happens when you get to DC. And to build on that, may I ask the question, who the heck is controlling RFK Jr.'s X account? Am I allowed to ask that question? Because
yeah, his X account is like kind of like wild now. It's like different.
I quite literally was so inspired by this man. So many people were, obviously, because he was a major piece of the puzzle in terms of bringing people to the center, which needed to happen. It needed to happen that all of us were brought towards the center so that we could recognize where the real evil exists, right? And it's not left versus right. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's whatever the hell is going on in DC versus the rest of us. And so RFK Jr. emerges as this candidate, and the moms, oh my gosh, did he seize us, right? Because I was so inspired by his vaccine work. I quite literally chose not to vaccinate my children. No regrets on that, by the way. We'll never discount him for that. I will never be petty and say that he did not do all of that work that he did before he went into DC, that magic land where everybody changes their opinions. So inspired was I by RFK Jr. that I actually picked up the baton and did an entire podcast series called A Shot in the Dark, right? Because I wanted to spread the news, spread the knowledge so that parents could step away from these delusions of fear, you know, the drug cartel that I speak about that exists in DC. And it was his organization, Children's Health Defense, that authored a book that was entitled The Measles Book, okay? The Measles Book, which set out to prove that healthcare had been traded in for profit. That's essentially what the thesis of this book was. And this is a direct quote from that book.
Mark said, it's still the first 100 days. Did you give the same scrutiny to the last administration after 4 years? I said, like, as far as Trump goes, like, I think he's doing like what he needs to do. I don't have any problem with Trump, but like RFK, like, was saying that he was going to help fix what was going on with the food supply, making us sick. And he's just like quiet now, other than like posting things on Twitter. Or, we got to start calling it X, posting things on X, talking about, oh, well, you can do this to be healthy and that to be like, what are you doing to the food supply for people who are not just watching your Twitter account?
Ready? Because it's going to be amazing when you look at his tweet today or what he tweeted yesterday. He wrote as a forward, why have the benefits of the measles vaccine been exaggerated and the risks understated? Because these vaccines are a cash cow for an industry that long ago left behind the legacy of true public health pioneers like Dr. Jonas Salk. Big Pharma has devolved into nothing more than a government-enabled cartel. CHD informs the reader that measles vaccines carries risks, but only for the vaccinee and his or her family. Big Pharma is free of virtually all legal liability for damages from the vaccine's harms. Measles outbreaks have been fabricated to create fear that in turn forces government officials to do something. They then inflict unnecessary and risky vaccines on millions of children for the sole purpose of fattening industry profits, end quote, written by RFK Jr. For clarity, that was published in 2021. So less than 5 years.
Yo, what did RFK do to her? This is like one person you do not want to make mad. Like, what did he do?
Ago. Okay. Well, 24 hours ago, he did a magic 180 pivot. First, he's saying they create the emergency to get you scared, so you roll up your sleeves. 24 hours ago, this is what's happening on Secretary Kennedy. He's different from RFK Jr. This is now Secretary Kennedy on X. Look at this. Check out the second.
Hold on, before she does that, we got a member in here, US MAGA, said he's probably taking a survey to see exactly what everyone likes versus exactly what needs to be good for us.
The third paragraph here, he writes, in early March, I deployed a CDC team to bolster. I thought we were sending him, by the way, to like dismantle the CDC. Maybe I'm crazy, but let me keep reading. In early March, I deployed a CDC team to bolster local and state capacity for response across multiple Texas regions, supply pharmacies and Texas-run clinics with needed MMR vaccines and other medicines and medical supplies, work with local schools and healthcare facilities to support contact investigations and to reach out to communities countries, including faith leaders, to answer any questions or respond to locations seeking healthcare.
RFK, bruh. They didn't put you in this position, and this is what you're doing. I mean, the MMR vaccine, I mean, I don't know. Like, that's not... I mean, what y'all think about that one? That's like something that I think people need. You know what I mean? You don't want people like... What y'all think about that in the comment section? MMR one. What y'all think? Y'all think that's bad that he's supplying that? I don't know. Like, that one I'm not really too mad about.
Since that time, the growth rates for new cases and hospitalizations have flattened. The most effective way to prevent the spread of measles is the MMR vaccine. Okay. That was Secretary Kennedy, not to be confused with RFK Jr., who we knew 5 years ago, who's authoring that book. I just want to clarify that for you guys. And you ask yourself, how is it possible? Okay. You wonder in your mind.
Yo, he did something to her, bro.
If Jessica Reed Krause, House and Habit, is going to be covering that pivot, or if they're just going to continue to gaslight those of us who put him into.
Or is this a situation where she's putting pressure on him right now? Like, yo, because Candace Owens, if she does a video, she's doing 1 million views. And we watched like her growth, like on YouTube, like last year. Like she jumped like 1 million, 2 million followers, like since last year. Like she's been moving like crazy. So like she got to the point to where she went from like 300-some-thousand views a video. Now she's doing 1 million, 1.1 million, 1.2 million, 1.3 million views a video. So she could be using this as an opportunity to put pressure on RFK. Like, yo, we watching you. You made a lot of promises and you're pivoting and you're moving into a different direction. Stay on what you said you were going to do. This could be what she's using her platform for. U.S. Mega said he was going to investigate to see how much mercury was in each vaccine by my understanding. So he is doing a 180. If I'm being 100% real, he is. So, I mean, is she calling him out on it? What y'all think?
Office with a specific mandate to do more of what he was already doing outside of office. This gets into the conversation, the timely conversation
and
that
and shout out to us, right? Because we had 67,000 subscribers on this channel last year in October, right? And then from then we got 125,000. We had RFK saying thug life. Remember we kept saying that thug life, and we kept doing that, like, and then he said it, or he posted it on his Twitter. So, we kind of cool with RFK, but, to be real, you did say that you were going to, like, start dismantling things and trying to fix this food supply. And you're not doing that we can see. So she put the pressure on you, bro.
Carol and I were having about blackmail. I know you guys enjoyed that conversation. It is us telling you the truth, okay? The more you hang out in these circles, the more you learn which individuals there seems to be blackmail on. And RFK Jr. is one of them. They have sexual blackmail on RFK Jr. That was told to people in my circle, and Jessica Reed Krause knows that, okay? This is not something that I would say unless I was certain of this, of what they were fearful of coming out about him, something that would be extremely embarrassing. And the question that
Mark Avery said, this is kind of messed up. What do you mean?
Have now when you look at this scandal after scandal of people who we send.
And then Norton75 said, actually, I'm very surprised. You know what an amendment is actually? Do you really know what an amendment is? Somebody said, Pac says we got money for wars but can't feed the poor.
DC and we believe in. And instantly they do a 180 is how early do they begin collecting this blackmail? Who are the players and the countries that are involved? Because I'm getting a little tired of believing that there is actually a deep state. I actually think the state is quite surface. It's kind of right in our face, right? It's pretty obvious. Speaking of which, and you're going to find this to be totally crazy, okay? I'd like to find and dig up old articles. Maybe you knew this. I'm going to guess you didn't because I didn't. And it was one of those things where I was reading it and I was like, oh, the Candace doing this, the face. I'm always just so shocked when I come across these things and I realize how little we know about how our government actually works. And this is regarding the person who visited the White House yesterday, Bibi Netanyahu, the person I think who is running the White House, by the way. He met with influencers while he was there.
Yo, what? Candace Owens is low-key switching up, bro. She says Netanyahu is running the White House. She becoming non-biased. Which y'all think? She don't really, like, she already in a position, bro, like her fan base is insane. On Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, Rumble, like she good. And I think now she's like, she went from ultra conservative to being like, she's trying to be midline now. You know what I mean? Like, yo, this is different. This is different. This is interesting. This is interesting to see which direction she gonna go.
Who are they influencing and what are they influencing? Who are they influencing, or what are they influencing on behalf of, rather? We know that Jessica Reed Krause was there, as mentioned, because she posted a photo, and we know Tim Pool was there. We know Dave Rubin was there, who has just become an Israel shill in the most pathetic way. We know Guy Benson was there, Bethany Mandel, and David Harris Jr. Go back to that photo, which was funny because people were sending me things going, didn't you used to work with David Harris Jr.? He's been attacking you nonstop over the last week. I didn't even look at it because I'm so used to how fake everyone is, just how fake and absolutely miserable. It doesn't matter. I don't even care. But I then love that someone was like, and here he is being featured on House Habits wall, and he's with Bibi Netanyahu, and that kind of locks some things into place. Anyways, fascinating group, right? Fascinating group that assembled there, but not nearly as fascinating as the man himself, Bibi Netanyahu. Because like I said, what I'm about to show you is crazy. Look what I came across. Thank you to you guys who send tips at CandaceOwens.com, tips at CandaceOwens.com, as well as you guys that tag me and everything. This is nuts. So this article.
Yeah, I'm thinking about quitting working and just doing streaming like full time. Like you can, like you could do like really well doing that. Yo, she got websites. She got like, bro, she is set. She don't have to really comply with either party. She's where she needs to be right now.
Article was published in October of 1996. It's amazing that to find any of this information, we basically have to go back to the 90s.
Yo, bro,
because now the press is
files on Netanyahu. Yo, this is crazy. This is nuts, bro.
So controlled in America. It's ironic and hilarious that we think that we have a free press in America when we have gotten infinitely less free to talk about subjects without the entire media colluding to come down on you. So this was published, by the way, in the Washington Report on Middle Eastern Affairs, and it was a special report entitled Spook, Terrorist, or Criminal: America's Mysterious Files on Netanyahu. I said, okay, let me read this. This is weird. So I'm going to read
you know, we can't really just get rid of him, right? Because this is like a Christian nation. This is what they say. So I don't know, like if there's so many people who are religious that will go crazy if America stopped like listening to him. So it's like he knows he's got the minds of Americans. So he kind of is absolved of wrongdoing to a large majority of people, which is crazy. So yeah, so I mean, it don't matter how much he's being called out, what he does, the people that be going in them buildings and praying and all of that, like they are gonna prop this dude up. And if any president stands not to support, not in Hayu, this religion, these religious people in America are gonna go crazy. That's why he has so much authority and so much power.
You the relevant portion that blew my mind here. It says Netanyahu has lived both in Israel and the United States. First grade.
And Mattiel said, "No, John, I'm not gonna. I got a really good career. Like I'm not gonna do streaming like full time yet, but I could if I wanted to."
Israel, 2nd and 3rd grade in the United States, 4th through 8th in Jerusalem, high school in suburban Philadelphia, military service in Israel, a BA and an MA at MIT. He held dual citizenship, which enabled him to travel freely between both countries, study in the U.S., receive federal loans to cover his education costs at MIT.
Bruh, Benjamin Netanyahu was worth $13 million. It's crazy, bro. Like, Americans, man, like, we gotta stop believing these people. Benjamin Netanyahu, net worth 13 million. Benjamin Netanyahu is an Israeli politician who has a net worth of 13 million. Benjamin Netanyahu has served as the country's prime minister 3 times, first from 1996 to 1999, and later from 2009 to 2021. And then, incredibly, he has reelected again in November 2022. As between his first 2 tenures, he worked in the private sector before becoming Minister of Foreign Affairs and Minister of Finance under Ariel Sharon. A highly controversial figure both at home and abroad. Netanyahu was indicted on charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust. And you see what I'm saying? So it's like, even with that, these people here in America be like, yeah, but you gotta stand with Israel. Yo, once these religions like get your mind, like, it's ain't nothing you can do. You can't, like,
and work legally. Like every U.S. citizen, Netanyahu has a social security number, a credit account, and numerous other files in a variety of government offices. Okay.
And that's just what they
Nevertheless,
13 million. We don't know how much this guy's worth.
Netanyahu's files differ from those of most U.S. citizens. The Israeli weekly publication entitled Hayir, that is a publication that is weekly out of Tel Aviv, that reports that 4 requests for credit approval appear in the U.S. Social Security file number, and they gave the number of his Social Security. Under each request, one finds a different name: Benjamin Netanyahu, Benjamin Netai, John J. Sullivan, and John J. Sullivan Jr. One man, 4 names. Benjamin Netanyahu is the name Israel's current prime minister was given at birth, and which he now uses. In June of 1973, during his studies at MIT, Netanyahu...
I might have to cut the stream. They're starting to slow the stream down. I don't know why. Y'all hitting the likes? Like, let me know. Y'all double tapping the screen, hitting the hundreds and all of that. They're trying to slow the stream. I wonder if it's because this is what's being talked about right now. But I don't know. Like, y'all hit the double tap the screen and all that, hundreds and all of that. I want to see what's going on.
Submitted a petition to the Boston court asking to change his name from Netanyahu to Netai.
Because y'all gotta understand, when she went to, because I can see, like, it's at 90,000 views right now, right? Once we started talking about this, it just stuck right there. It wasn't like 90,001, 90,000. It just stuck at 90,000 views. That's why I want y'all to, like, hit the all of that. Cause I don't know, cause people be saying, like, Hassan Campbell be like, yo, they be playing with my views. I don't know. But I think it's very weird we got this many people in here and it just stuck. As soon as she gets on to Netanyahu.
An ITAI. Quote, I prefer a shorter name, he wrote on the request form. The petition was approved. Thus, the second name has an explanation. The last 2 names, however, remain a mystery. Furthermore, the address attached to these names, somewhere in Malibu, California,
does Dakota.
Not exist. Who then is John J. Sullivan?
What's up, Walkins
Israelis
channel?
Biranit Gorin and Einat Berkovich from...
Yeah, Arctic, it says it shows 1K. Why is it stuck at 90,000 views?
A year tried to find out. They looked into Netanyahu's credit account. The file is supposed to hold information regarding bank accounts, loans, credit cards, and so forth.
That's the thing. Like, when you talk about, I don't even want to say this, bro. When we talk about the Epstein files, bro, your views will slow on. I'm not gonna say this platform, different platform. If you talk about that, your views are slowing down, bro. Period. But if you talk about, like, RFK, they slow down. But this Netanyahu thing, like, oh no, man.
Yet surprisingly, the file was empty. It is as if Netanyahu never had a debt, had never taken out a loan, and always paid his bills up front and in cash. Gorin and Berkovich then attempted to examine Netanyahu's social security file, but they were denied access. They did, however, find out that Netanyahu's file has a different classification than most. They were denied access not merely due to the 1974 Privacy Act, but because the file had a quote-unquote confidential classification. Gorin and Berkovich have explained that such a classification only applies to 5 categories of people. Those who...
Yeah, we might have to get off this topic, bro. We might have to get off this topic.
Work for one of 3 federal agencies, the FBI, the CIA, the IRS, or those who are considered to be terrorists or criminals. Since it's unlikely that Netanyahu fits the latter 2 categories, or that he worked for the IRS, it appears that he was on the payroll of a secret agency, the CIA or the FBI. Oh, amazing. Okay, cool. Yeah, I didn't know any of that. I'm checking the chat here to see if you guys knew that, were aware. Anybody here come across John J. Sullivan as he was studying through the United States and working on the payroll of our state? Anybody aware of that as we keep pretending like there's a difference between the Mossad and the CIA?
All right, we're getting off this topic because they basically saying, don't talk about this dude.
Donald Trump is tensions with the United
above the tariffs that we put on. So they've gone for years. They've become a rich country because of people, again, that were in the White House that allowed this to happen.
And true to
Let me see.
To make a deal, he'll be incredibly gracious, but he's going to do what's best for the American people.
No, they got hold on. Where is Rita at? Hold on, they bugging. Like, where's let me show y'all something real quick. Hold up. Let me get this out. Yo, they is messing with me today, man. It's crazy. Y'all doing too much. No, they're not gonna let me do it. What's cool though? It's cool though. Let's go to CNN. I want to see what Scott Jennings is saying. Hold on, because I think he just went crazy on somebody. Before I get out, but yeah, I'm off of that. Hey, you only get. And they let you know. They let you know. You know what I mean? Hold on, let me show y'all something. I watched a little bit of this. I want to hear what Scott Jennings got to say.
Consequences will be on the shoulders of tariffs. And Ronald Reagan will say, it seems like the patriotic thing to do. But those people in Congress, they're just bowing to special interests. And tariffs always raise rates, they cause inflation, they hurt competitiveness, they hurt innovation, and it's a false patriotism.
Hey, Johnny Harris, you gotta watch the signs. You know what I'm saying? Like certain things, certain people, you don't want to talk about.
Don't fall for it, and they should just watch that over and over and over again.
This seems pretty straightforward if you're a conservative. What also makes this...
Hold on. Green Bean said, it's funny to say freedom of speech is done when you are completely allowed to on the internet. I didn't say freedom of speech is done. It just, it comes with responsibility.
I think,
you know what I mean? Like, it's just certain things. Like, you gotta understand. Like, some people, they get caught up because they don't watch the signs. You know what I'm saying? I'll be watching the signs, and I got a very good relationship with some of these companies. You know what I mean? But it's certain things, bro.
Absurd is they put out this formula here. I have it here. It's a chart like
exactly. Christian Medwig just said it. I'm not gonna say that, but he just said it. He said you can't on a lot of platforms. You can't critique Israel or them people. You know
this that the president held up, and in the blue and white column, they basically had a made-up formula. Here's how Larry Summers describes
it. Why do you think like there's so much? Those people have so much power. Like they control like a lot, you know what I mean? Like they control. If news and media is important, bro, they can control your mind with news and what you see. You know,
it's now clear that Donald Trump's administration computed reciprocal tariffs without using tariff data. No tariff data at all. This is to economics what creationism is to biology, astrology is to astronomy, or RFK thought is to vaccine science. The Trump tariff policy makes little sense, even if you believe in protectionist, mercantilist economics. I don't understand. I mean, I guess they think nobody.
She is fine, bro. I ain't gonna lie, bro.
Is going to bother to.
Her between y'all, real quick. Who y'all got? Her or Candace Owens? I don't know, bro. Like if you. If it was like, all right, today pick who you want. I don't know. This would be a hard one, bro. Like she's a little thicker. I'd probably go with her. But Candace Owens is nice too.
Check, but making up numbers and then saying, oh, we're going to half that number and be generous is not math. It's also not economics. It's kind of no way to run the economics of the greatest economy in the world.
Well, look, I'm not going to get into the mathematical formulas they came up with because I wasn't there.
You see what I'm saying, Moro? Like, I don't know, bro. Coda, I don't know. Like, who? Which one?
I don't know how or why they did it. I had mixed feelings about this. Truthfully, I wasn't trained to believe in tariffs. You know, those of us who grew up as traditional Republicans have always thought what Ronald Reagan thought. And so what Trump is doing here is implanting new economic theory DNA inside of the Republican Party. And what you're seeing is some Republicans are rejecting it. Some Republicans are reluctantly going on with it. Some Republicans are enthusiastically embracing it. I know people in the business community who are on both sides of it, frankly, back home in Kentucky and elsewhere. I'm also persuaded, frankly, by the Trump argument regarding the working class in this country and also by the fairness argument. So I will just say this. If it works, it'll be the ballsiest and gutsiest thing a president's done in decades. Let me finish. Let me finish. And if
they can't wait to get on him.
Doesn't work. If it doesn't work, the political consequences fall on the shoulders of one man.
Actually, and I totally agree with you.
And then, all right. So let me show you. Well, I can't show you this. Look, y'all gonna see. So remember we were watching Candace Owens and she was talking about that guy over there, right? And she's breaking them down. We were stuck at 90,000 views. I switch and go here. It's at 100,000 views now. 100,000 views now. You see what I'm saying? You have to read the room where you are, like wherever you're streaming. You know, that's just what it is. Certain people, you gotta stay away from talking about, man.
This is the one time I actually agree with you. Jim Cramer said it best. Well, there are several, maybe 5 times. This is one of those 5 times. Jim Cramer said, this is a man-made issue. One man made this issue, and it was Donald Trump. And I think that the Americans wanted lower prices. They didn't want higher prices. What's going to happen, and what economists are saying, is not only are people going to get laid off, but costs are going to go up. And that's not what the American people want. And they're going to see it in the midterm elections. And so I think that the Republican Party needs to be very careful about what they're doing. The other problem with all of this is the uncertainty. He's not saying how long.
Christian Medwood said, I'm sorry, it doesn't make sense. You can't say anything about Israel. That's not freedom of speech. Brian Robinson, I put it on subscribers only because a lot of times I find myself talking to people that's not even subscribed. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to keep doing it. Brian Robinson said she was talking about the internet and Yahoo. And then Coda said, oh, it's going up now. Yeah, the views are going up now because I got off of that subject. Can Do said, get them subs. Paragraph says, that's BS. I mean, if you think so. And then Arctic said, Coda, refresh your screen.
Long these tariffs are going to go. He's not saying, is this a done deal for a while, or is it a short-term deal? And that's a problem.
Let me let Richard in.
You talked about the political.
Yo, in one more hour, China gonna have to pay 104% tariff. That goes into effect today.
Consequences will be on the shoulders of one man, but the economic consequence.
V said, Hyperboy, it's not only you. I've seen this happen to other streamers too when they talk about you know who. Yeah, it's just what it is.
Are going to be on the whole world. This is an experiment that should not have been taking place because, and you talk about the Republicans who are not speaking up. So far, I mean, Mitch McConnell has come out with a statement. Where was he talking about this, by the way, during the campaign when we knew that tariffs were going to be large on the agenda? You also
you just raised an issue. You said during the campaign when we knew, because Donald Trump
no one ever
about
expected this madness.
They expected Donald Trump to enact tariffs. He did it in his first term.
Let's be fair.
I do think
this is economic vandalism.
I'm sorry, I can't get over how fine she is, bro. Like,
I mean, this is actually not.
Well, I would think a lot of working class Americans would say what was done to them was economic cost.
But the jobs that are going to come back.
Yo, she about to make me a Democrat. She is good looking. Jesus. Man.
According to the Peterson Institute, the very jobs that Donald Trump says are going to come back are the jobs that America doesn't need. America needs high-paying, high-skilled, digital, a new age, AI-based economy. What he's talking about bringing back is old style. Basically, look.
Well, no,
here is a shoe. It's my shoe, right? It is made in China. You talked about these luxury products.
They are.
Right, but you take your shoe off and see where it's made.
Yes.
Made in China, made in Vietnam. This is going to be 34% more expensive. It's an ordinary shoe bought in a discount store.
Look,
You just buy a different shoe, weirdo. What you do? You buy a different shoe from somewhere else.
I represent Silicon Valley, but I think this country needs more than tech and AI jobs. We definitely need manufacturing, and we need to be a manufacturing superpower. Here's my problem with the
this fool think we don't need manufacturing.
tariffs. On the one hand, he's saying, well, this is not permanent. This is just a negotiating technique. Now, if you really think that, and you're...
Bro, stop playing. Hey, Lala, stop playing. You know she fine. Like, stop that, bro. You know she fine.
Jim Farley, at CEO of Ford, or you're the CEO of Mary Barra, are you going to go to your board and say, well, let's put billions of dollars in build new factories, when Donald Trump himself is saying that 2 months later he may take this away?
I don't think Donald Trump is saying that. Donald Trump is saying we need to raise revenue in a different old school way through tariffs. He would like this to be permanent. I think the people who are saying that are people like Scott who would like it to be temporary.
He's saying that that we're here and they're here and they want to do that.
He is tariffing countries.
That's what he's saying.
Tim, he is tariffing countries. He is tariffing countries that do not actually tariff us at the levels that we are now tariffing them, because he is using a made-up formula based off of trade deficits.
He said on the plane tonight.
Oh my God, bro. I don't care how good she looks. She crazy. I don't like the way she think. US MAGA is a member on the channel say, I love Candace, but I do think she's better looking. She is better looking than Candace Owens. Candace Owens is cool, but she is, she killing Candace. I ain't gonna even lie, bro. Candace is smart, but she killing her. Tanya said, he's talking to somebody else. Blaze Lab said manufacturing will save humanity. An untold legend says she's fine, but she's also a snake. She's very condescending. Tom Stanley said, I'd rather hear about her than most of these people. No Reply said, I made a ton of money owning and operating my manufacturing business. It's the best way to make money. Somebody said, Jaden said, you can fix her.
I saw before I walked in here that he's gotten a number of calls from the leaders of other nations around the world. See, you wonder what kind of negotiations are going on. If I might offer a piece of advice, though.
His Treasury Secretary literally said, there are no conversations.
Well, the president of the United States said it on the plane tonight, so I don't know who outranks who. But let me just offer.
Exactly. I think to what end is the very
offer a piece of
important
advice. I do think that if an American ally comes to the table like Israel did and said,
somebody said, Arctic said Gabrielle Union she looks way better than Gabrielle Union.
Totally eliminating our tariffs, we should immediately reward that, because I do think part of the game here is, if you want to work with us and you want to treat us and American creators and American businesses fairly, we want to do the same for you. Israel did that.
US MAGA said, we do need manufacturing. Not everyone went to college and not everyone's going to be rich, and manufacturing doesn't take a whole lot of skill, but we need it at the same time. Yeah, like, this dude is a weirdo, bro. Like, what did he think? Like, we all got like computer engineering degrees or something? Dude's a weirdo.
Other countries are going to do that.
Israel did that, and guess what they did to Israel? They slapped them with a 17%
I know. I'm saying we should
tariff.
treat them the same.
17% tariff.
Wait, hold up. What she say?
17% tariff. 17%.
I know. I'm saying Israel did that. I assume other countries are going to do that.
Israel did that, and guess what they did to Israel? They slapped them with a 17%.
I know. I'm saying we should treat them the same.
17.
Hold on. We hit Israel with a 17% tariff. Hold on. What? Or is she talking about China? Billions U.S. gives aid. Trump refuses to commit to removing tariffs. Yo. What? Hold on. Nah, bro. Hold on. Let me make sure I say it. Well, she said 17%?
Tariff.
We should treat them the same.
17.
Yeah, 17% tariff. All right, so what is she talking about? Oh, we hit Israel with a 17% tariff? Yo, I thought y'all said Netanyahu control America. We hit them with a 17% tariff. Says Israel hit with 17% tariff despite saying it would scrap levies on U.S. goods. Oh, yo, Trump ain't playing with nobody, bro.
17% tariff.
But if all the countries do what you say, Scott, and everybody does sort of come back to this level playing field, then the president is not going.
Hey, anytime y'all hear everybody in here, right? Anytime you hear somebody say, "Oh, well, Israel runs America and Trump does whatever," not, and Yahoo said, "I'll be like, all right, well, Trump hit them with a 17% tariff." That's what you say. That's your next thing to say. Oh, well, Netanyahu controls the president. He didn't control that 17% tariff that they got hit with. Remember that.
Going to get this other renaissance in manufacturing and renaissance of new jobs because the level playing field, you make goods and services where it is economically advantageous to do so. And at the moment in the United States.
Let's start digging up some diamond mines and exporting them.
Yeah, Erica, she said, I'm tired of hearing that. That's the one, if you're a Trump supporter, they will say that. They will go, oh, well, not now who runs America. And like, all right, well, he hit Netanyahu and then with a 17% tariff. Now what?
And then
he said he's not going to back down from it.
Will justify the tariffs that we placed on small African.
Everybody is getting smoked from Trump. He's not playing, bro. I think he's using this tool to lower the because we owe a lot of countries money. So he's like, yo, like we want to any trade deficit, whatever, like we want to get rid of that. Because he said China, like, just to talk about China now, he said that they're operating at a $1 trillion surplus. Right, $1.2 trillion surplus. So he was like, we shouldn't be like in debt to y'all, like no $1 trillion or whatever it is. He's like, yo, no, like these countries out here, even when Europe tried to come to the table for a 0-0 like tariff, he was just like, no, you know what I mean? Like we should not be on y'all no money. So he's just like hammering down on these countries and not playing. He not letting up, bro. He don't care. Like even if they come to the table, like, all right, Trump, we'll reduce our tariffs. He's like, no, we want y'all to reduce our debt to y'all. This is how much power this president got, bro.
Nations for diamond imports. Some of this does not make logical sense.
I would definitely date her, bro. I'm not even gonna lie, bro.
In today's video, President Trump threatens China.
10. Now, last week, 104% in tariffs on China. That would hit on Wednesday, April 9th, this Wednesday. If China were to go through with their retaliatory tariff threat of 34%, that's set to go into effect on Thursday, April 10th. Now, last week, President Trump hit China with tariffs of 34%. That was on top of the
Exactly. Johnny Harris, a member on the channel, he said Trump out here saying, get down or get laid down.
previous 20% tariffs for fentanyl.
No, I'm not, bro. He ain't playing. Like, this is the first president I've ever seen not play with Israel. Don't get it confused. Like, we all looking at President Trump and Netanyahu taking pictures. He not playing with him. He getting tariffs just like everybody else. Maybe not as high, but it's like, yo, you still getting a 17% tariff. You don't run nothing over here.
All coming into the country, meaning China will be hit with tariffs of 54% by April 9th. Then if you add that additional 50% he's threatening today, that brings it to 104% in tariffs. He also says all talks with China are, quote, terminated unless they step off their tariff threat. The White House says over 50 countries have tried to talk with President Trump. Trump also saying in that Truth Social post that those negotiations will begin, quote, immediately. The White House, though, pushing back on the idea that President Trump is considering a 90-day pause in tariffs as, quote, fake news after it spread on social media and caused the stock market to jump.
Now, I think the only thing that matters, given everything that went on this morning, why would President Trump be giving this amount of attention to China in this way? Now, I believe this investigative journalist by the name of Walter Kurt provides a good idea on why that is. It might be true, maybe not, but I want to share it with you and then get your reaction to it in the comment section below. And by the way, it wasn't just long ago where the media was crying that President Trump was not being tough on China. So I think this nips it in the bud. He says this report, the Trump tariffs have set off endless speculation and market turmoil, but no one is talking about the real target in this agenda. That's China. An analysis shows that nearly all of the countries on the tariff list hit with high tariffs are part of the Chinese Belt and Road Initiative, also known as BRI. Think about the Panama Canal, right? They invested into the infrastructure over many decades, essentially giving them what? Economic control. The tariffs escalate the U.S.-China economic rivalry, with China retaliating with a 34% tariff on U.S. goods. We heard that in the video earlier. However, by targeting BRI countries like Indonesia and Pakistan, the U.S. aims to weaken China's $2.9 trillion trade network, potentially forcing nations to choose between Chinese investment and U.S. market access, signaling a broader economic warfare strategy to undermine China's BRI and global economic dominance. Now, that is an interesting perspective. What do you think about that?
China is right now taking a big hit because everyone knows we're right. They have to pay tariffs because otherwise we have a surplus and they have a surplus with us that is not sustainable. I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something. And we have such a horrible, we have been treated so badly by other countries because we had stupid leadership that allowed this to happen.
Yeah, so the president is correct. It is stupid leadership. But the media is also stupid, too, in the way that they report on these stories, which brings me to what you see here on the screen. This is a rumor that happened this morning where supposedly President Trump was considering pausing tariffs for 90 days. Now, we're looking at ground.news. And if you guys want to check this out for yourself, just go to ground.news/Devori. This is the tool we use to produce the show because it shows us what both sides are saying. Now, let me just show you an example of an article that leans left. That's everything that
honest about it, right? So yeah, people have these stocks in their 401ks, and guess what? We've been through it. There's a correction on average every year. There's a bear market every couple of years. I think most people are accustomed to that. But to Bob's point, it's lower interest rates. You know, mortgages coming down.
Yeah, all of those positive things are clearly being ignored by Democrats. And just think about the position that they're in. Democrats have a history of crying about China every step of the way of their careers. Now they're silent on it. Now that President Trump is actually holding China's feet to the fire, you know what they're saying now? Oh, Trump is going to hurt Americans. Now, let me show you an example. Here's Chuck Schumer in his heyday raging against China.
Bro, like, I've seen the same video. I think did I retweet this?
The bottom line is very simple, Mr. President. The Chinese have enjoyed a huge trade surplus with the United States, as this chart shows. Every year, it gets larger and larger and larger. Admittedly, some of that trade surplus is due to the rules of free trade. But much of that trade surplus is because the Chinese don't play fair. They don't.
Seen earlier, they were trying to manipulate their currency.
Let our goods into their country. I can tell you, company after company in New York who cannot sell goods in China or can only sell the goods under certain conditions that make it impossible for them to sell them.
Ab said China is too strong. An untold legend said the turmoil in the market are the brokers and bigwigs, not the average consumers. They're tanking because they've bet against the American market and consumers for so long that the upswing is losing. Tanya Neal said, I was talking to her, and then Leo said, domestic production is not coming back. No company is investing in that, knowing he will be gone in a few years, and we all pay until then. I mean, there's a lot of companies saying that they're going to come to America and invest, and we've already seen over $1.2 trillion like from companies saying that they're coming over here to invest, that pledge to come over here and invest. So I mean, and then no reply in the comment section said America's debt are what's called treasury bonds. They are futures. They are not debt like you owe AT&T or your phone bill.
The Chinese.
And then Shawnee G says some people are so pessimistic or they don't understand basic economics. Just as long as the gravy train never ends, even though the young generations don't have good jobs and are priced out of homes. Exactly. And I feel like we kind of dealing with that now. A lot of younger people can't afford homes. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it's only going to get worse. If he doesn't do something, like, just think about like your kids, like what they're going to deal with. Like, we won't be here, but you know, you care about your family. Like, I think he's setting the stage to where like your kids and your kids will be okay. Like, if we're going to keep moving into this direction, service-based country, giving all of our money away to all these different countries and not trying to figure out a way to service our debt and to reduce our, you know, the debt to other countries as well, I think we're going to end up going bankrupt as a country. Elon Musk said that our debt, our interest on the debt, our national debt outweighs the defense budget. That's huge. So realistically, you can never really pay down the debt. So something has to be done. And the only way they can really do anything is to come after every American, like for taxes and stuff like that, like to help with some of the expenditures that they're doing. And Trump said no. Democrats wanted to hire 80,000 IRS agents. We're going to start firing them. Let's start using these tariffs to leverage and get some money back into this country. Let's try to give no taxes for overtime, no taxes for tips. If you make under $150,000, y'all really shouldn't even be paying taxes. I mean, this is how he talking. And people don't like tariffs. I don't get it, man. And he's got these countries like worried and freaking out, coming to the table and trying to negotiate. And he's like, wait, no, we don't want to owe y'all no money. I like how he moving, bro. Like, I like how he moving. Like, you need like somebody that's going to take a hardball approach with it.
Please make no effort to prevent the ripping off of our intellectual property.
Okay, so let's go to our second story. It's being reported that there are 7 Republican senators looking to sign onto a bill that would check Trump's trade authority, meaning they want to stop him from using tariffs, okay? This bipartisan bill would require congressional approval for President Trump's steep tariffs. The Trade Review Act of 2025 would limit Trump's ability to impose unilateral tariffs, requiring congressional approval within 60 days. The White House opposes this bill, stating it would obviously veto this response. Now, the 7...
they're trying to pass a bill stopping him from using tariffs, bro. Like, if this don't tell you, like, these Democrats are invested in foreign countries, like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, remember when Mitt Romney and Obama was debating, and Mitt Romney was like, you got a lot of investments over there in China. And he called Obama out on that in the debates. This is, bro, like, y'all are trying to create a bill so that he can't do tariffs. Yo, what? And I get it, like, to an extent, like, yo, you don't want him to do unilateral tariffs and just do whatever you want to do. He's a president, bro. If this is what he's choosing to do, whatever. You know, but I get it. You have to have checks and balances and stuff like that. But come on, bro. It just makes me, like, raise an eyebrow to the Democratic Party. It's like, come on, who are y'all really representing out here? Who y'all care about? Y'all care about Americans, or do y'all care about foreign countries?
And Republican senators are Chuck Grassley, Mitch McConnell, no surprise there, Jerry Moran, Lisa Murkowski, Tom Tillis, Todd Young, and Susan Collins. So the usual suspects.
No reply said the gold card used to sell for $800,000. We raised the price to $5 million. They're not new. They've always been around.
Now, not all senators feel this way, especially Deb Fischer from Nebraska. Here's what she said on Fox News.
But I want to give the president
Soulja Boy gonna be the first rapper with the golden card.
time. That's where I'm at, and that's where Nebraskans are too. To be able to give the president time. As you quoted what he had put up this morning, I agree with those points. We're seeing a decrease in oil prices. We're seeing food prices come down. Here in Congress,
I said this earlier in the stream. People thought I was crazy. Food prices is going down. Like, I just went shopping at Trader Joe's, and I feel like I didn't pay as much as I used to. I got like more stuff. Like, food prices is going down.
we are looking at spending cuts to get spending under control. We're looking at getting rid of a lot of regulations out there. All of that is part of this package. So when we wait for the president's tariffs to be able to have an impact on the unfair trade practices that we have seen against ag producers, against manufacturing here in America, we want to make sure that we're going to be addressing that.
Yeah, so she is definitely spot on in regards to this. It's a similar analogy to the stock market. You don't panic and make decisions from fear. You let things play out and then assess your options from there. And those 7 GOP senators, that's not what they're doing. They're panicking when they should really give President Trump the benefit of the doubt here. Allow him to prove whether he is correct or wrong. But you can't do that if you rush and try to handicap his executive powers, of course. Now, here's what Speaker Johnson had to say about this move.
Mr. Speaker, there's a push by some of your members to give Congress a say. Don Bacon has a bill to give Congress a say and review the tariff. Why not give Congress the opportunity to have it be a check?
Well, Congress will weigh in on it, but with the president, with the administration in tandem, and I think you got to give the president the latitude, the runway to do what it is he was elected to do, and that is get this economy going again and get our trade properly balanced with other countries. So I think most of the American people understand the necessity of that. Listen, we had a $1.2 trillion trade deficit in 2024. I don't think that's fair to our country. I think the American people understand that, and I think they see a president who's engaging and trying to fix that. So we're going to give him the space necessary to do it, and we'll see how it all develops.
Now, the Trump administration is taking this claim seriously because they put on X through Office of Management and Budget the actual memorandum stating that they would veto this bill. It's right here at the end. If S1272 were presented to the president, he would veto the bill. So this is not going anywhere. It'll probably pass in the Senate, fail in the House, as you heard from Speaker Mike Johnson, because at the end of the day, it's part of the authority of the executive branch. And what I find interesting is, why is there congressional members trying to minimize the authority of the executive branch? Is the executive branch trying to minimize the authority of Congress? And I wonder, do these same members have a problem with these district court judges obviously issuing these injunctions that affect a nationwide executive order from the president? So I think there's some contradictions there, and I don't believe this is the right approach. There's a reason why it's called separation of power. And while those GOP senators are looking to stop President Trump from exercising his executive authority, the Treasury Secretary just made this huge announcement following a very constructive phone discussion with the government of Japan. The president has tasked me to open negotiations to implement the president's vision for the new golden age of global trade with Japan. Essentially, that they are coming to the table and we are going to renegotiate these trade conditions with that country. Now, that's great news.
Now, at 7 o'clock, I turned on CNN. I wanted to get a wider look, a reaction to what Trump did today. And the anchor at 7 is a very smart woman. She's an ideologue to the left, but she's not a nut. To my shock, she was almost sympathizing with China. Let me tell you about China. They're the worst cheaters on the planet. They steal, they Every untoward thing that you could do economically, they do. Every year.
So this is what I heard that they were doing. So this is what's going on, like rumors. So like a lot of our patents that we have in the United States for some big products, in order for you to be able to create a product similar, you have to make alterations to the product, right? And then it can't necessarily be as good as the original product. And it's kind of like how you kind of stay out of lawsuits and stuff like that. They're saying, and I'm not saying this is true, but this is the rumor that's going on. So they're saying like China is allowing people to like recreate products like from patents from America, and they're not being penalized or anything, like as their response to these like heightened like tariffs. So I don't know. It's a rumor going on. I don't know if it's true or not. So when he's saying things like China cheats, and we seen earlier that they can manipulate their currency, they can lower the value of it, they can do all kind of stuff. Like it kind of goes into what he's saying a little bit.
The United States sends $300 billion more to China than they send to us in trade. $300 billion. Ireland, with a population of 5 million, takes more U.S. goods than China. Ireland. China blocks U.S. goods from coming into their country.
That's a problem. Y'all don't think that's a problem? That's a problem, bro. Now, in terms of our agriculture, like our food, I can understand them not wanting our food, bro. Like our food is toxic. I understand them not wanting our food because they don't want their people to get sick like our people be getting sick and cancer and all of that. But like cars and stuff, like, come on, y'all can't accept literally nothing. Like, what is y'all doing?
So I don't care whether their tariffs 5,000%.
This seems to be about remaking and putting China in a box, right? And
did he say I don't care if it's 5,000%?
There's a lot to that.
It's no. It is a game of chess, but it's more than that. It's a throwdown. We've had enough. You heard Trump say it.
Right.
You're building your military you're building your military off U.S. dollars. We're financing their military by the trade deficit. You're building that military to a point where war will be inevitable. Because you are stockpiling weapons and men to an extent that you don't need to be defensive. Trump knows this. But I want to get back to the American media. They don't know it because they hate Trump so much. They never report the truth. They never report the big picture. They never give you the danger of China, ever.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to continue our coverage of the outrage from the mainstream liberal media and the Democrat Party over President Trump's tariffs, okay, which President Trump clearly is trying to renegotiate and reorganize global trade in favor of the American producer. Now, you would think in a sane world, in a patriotic country, that the liberal media and the opposition party would be rooting for the president to make better deals for the American people, right? You would think they would be saying, you know what? Yeah, we should be trying to get more out of trade. Yeah, we should be trying to help domestic manufacturers. But over the past few days or so, what we've seen as the stock market has declined over the uncertainty caused by these negotiations is that you have Democrats and progressives coming out of the closet as pro-billionaire, right? They're very pro-billionaire, right? They love the rich and they hate America. Or put it this way, they hate Trump more than they love America, because I can't tell if they love America when you're actively rooting against America. It doesn't matter who's in office, right? You should generally hope that the president, the people in charge are going to be successful in what they're trying to do, okay, when it comes to putting this country ahead. But again, the Democrats and the liberal media, they're so treasonous that they're basically rooting for China at this point, right? You're seeing people come out and basically say that they're upset with President Trump trying to punish China because China does not play fair when it comes to global trade, right? And our companies are at a significant disadvantage compared to Chinese companies and what they're doing on the world stage. And President Trump is trying to fix that. And for whatever reason, they're trying to pretend as if China.
Yeah, why are you mad at him trying to make sure our business owners have equal footing? You know what I mean? Like like why should other countries just like, what is the point of coming to America and making trying to have a great life if you get a business and you're like immediately at a disadvantage? It's crazy.
Is the victim, right? That is the weird part about all of this, because Democrats, the liberal media, and some establishment Republicans are actively trying to undermine President Trump and take away his ability to negotiate on the world stage, again, as he is negotiating.
Remember, we'll do a little constitutional law. It's Congress that actually has to approve tariffs. But we gave this emergency power to Donald Trump. But Congress has the power under just a resolution, simple majority, to say it's not an emergency.
She is so corrupt, bro.
Ella, and that takes away his power to put all of these tariffs in place. Last Wednesday, we advanced in the United States Senate this motion to say, hey, we're not in an emergency situation with Canada. And 4 Republicans right then crossed over, voted with the Democrats, and it passed. And the importance of this, just to be wonky for a minute.
We love wonky. Safe place.
It's a privileged motion, which means it has to be brought to the floor to be voted on. So right now, we've got every Democrat lined up saying we are ready to declare we are not in an emergency. We are not.
This lady crazy. Let me see something real quick. Let me fact check her real quick. No, he does have the authority to make tariffs. It's people like Chuck Grassley and who co-sponsored bipartisan legislation to limit President Trump's trade authority, but he does have authority to do the tariffs. So she is cat.
Not at war with France, with Canada, with Italy. Can we just go through the whole list? With Japan, with South Korea? We are not. And if a handful of Republicans will join us, we have the power to put a stop.
So he's got an executive order that said regulating imports with a reciprocal tariff to rectify trade practices that contribute to large and persistent annual United States good trade deficits. By the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the international. Let me show y'all this so y'all know I ain't lying. Show y'all this. Regulating imports with reciprocal tariffs and rectify. Okay, so it says, by the authority vested in me as president by the Constitution and the laws of the United States of America, including the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, section blah, blah, blah. Donald Trump, president of the United States, find that underlying conditions, including the lack of reciprocity in our bilateral trade relationships, desperate tariff rates and non-tariff barriers, and U.S. trading partners' economic policies that suppress domestic wages and consumption, as indicated by large and persistent annual U.S. goods trade deficits, constitute an annual and extraordinary threat to the national security and economy of the United States. That threat has its source in a whole or a substantial part outside the United States and the domestic economy, economic policies of key trade partners, and structural imbalances in the global trade system. I hereby declare a national emergency with respect to this threat. So because he is declaring this like a national emergency, right, he does have the ability to do these things with tariffs. Like he does. So she's trying to, I guess she's trying to say like, we're not in an emergent situation to where he can just do this. But I mean, he does have the authority to do it. Unless they step in, or maybe a judge says something like he's overstepping his authority with the tariffs, which I think there is a court or a judge trying to, hold on, let me see. I think a judge is trying to step in to stop him. So think I've seen that. April, said Donald Trump, presidency news. Trump triple tariffs set to be imposed on low value goods from China. I saw something on Twitter about it, but I guess it's not
to this
making national news.
Tariff catastrophe that Donald Trump is putting in place. And
if this is how crazy this lady is. You don't think that all of these countries that have tariffs on America, leaving us at a disadvantage, our companies are like, you don't think that's a problem? You don't think it's an emergent situation that needs to be fixed? You don't think, like, this lady is so crazy. Like, we don't even have our United States military are getting parts from China. You don't think that's an emergent situation that needs to be fixed? Like, you don't, like, she just wants America completely sold out, illegal immigration like crazy, like America to have no strong like footing, nothing, sell out everything. Like, this is her stance to me. Like, what is she like on? Like, no, you think that China should be operating at a surplus and we should be operating at a deficit? Like, what is her, like, she is crazy. Like, everybody is not a doctor, a computer engineer, a lawyer. Like, this is, some people do need like non-skilled jobs. Why do you think we got crime that's so crazy? People can't get jobs. You think people gonna work at PetSmart or Chick-fil-A? Like, no, people need jobs. If there was more factories and more factory work, there'd probably be less crime. That's why people are coming out like, robbing and getting money. Like, no, we need like factories and stuff back. Like, she's crazy. She's worth like $13 million. She don't care. She will sell the country out and not think twice about it. And she was the main one, like, protecting the pharmaceutical companies when RFK was trying to say that they need to be held liable for damages. Like, she was like, oh, well, why does he want to go after the pharmaceutical companies? Like, this is Elizabeth Warren for you. Got mad at Elon Musk for doing a forensic audit of the Treasury Department when he started finding out all that excess government spending that shouldn't have been going on and all the corruption that was going on. She was the main person trying to lobby and trying to figure out if they can get judges to stop him. When they wanted to dismantle USAID, she was one of the main ones that was trying to get them to stop Elon Musk. Anything that they do that is in the betterance of the bettering the country or making us more solvent, she is against. She's very dangerous, in my opinion. Hey, what is she talking about? Like, this is not an emergent situation. Like, he has too much latitude or what? Like, what is you talking about, lady? Like, why don't you talk about the interest rates are lower? Because you ain't had nothing to say when we were approaching 8% interest rates under Biden. Why don't you say interest rates are lower? Why don't you say gas prices are lower? Oil prices are lower. Why don't you say that? Why don't you say egg prices are lower? Grocery prices are going down. Why aren't you not talking about that? She ain't had nothing good to say. Even when the kid, when Trump was addressing Congress, right, and that kid that was fighting cancer, they gave him an honorary Secret Service, like, accommodation or whatever. Like, she couldn't even stand up and clap. This is the type of woman she is. This is a lady that lied and said she was an Indian to get like financial aid for college. But she want to say Trump has too much authority. Like, she is crazy. He's trying to save this country. Elon Musk said we have a $36 trillion deficit. Our interest alone on our debt is more than the government spends on defense. He needs to, what do you want them to do? Raise taxes on every American to like 60%? Or do you want them to try to do tariffs to do something to try to get other like money in here? Tariffs can be utilized as a tool. McKinley knew that when they wanted to stop the British. Why doesn't she know this?
Pulling our economy into a ditch.
Mr. Speaker.
Not sure yet.
Mr. Speaker, there's
our economy into a ditch. Like, she is crazy, bro.
push by some of your members to give Congress a say. Don Bacon has a bill to give Congress a say and review the tariff. Why not give Congress the opportunity to have it be a check?
Well, Congress will weigh in on it, but with the president, with the administration in tandem, and I think you got to give the president the latitude, the runway to do what it is he was elected to do, and that is get this economy going again and get our trade properly balanced with other countries. So I think most of the American people understand the necessity of that. Listen, we had a $1.2 trillion.
Let me show y'all something real quick. Let's go to S&P 500. So if you go to the S&P 500 5-year, right? So in 2025, this is what everybody is panicking about, right? So Trump's been president in 2025, right? So they're panicking about this. But when Biden was president, we were all the way down here. Why were they not panicking when we were all the way down here? So we go up and then we go down a little bit right here. This little point, they're panicking about losing their minds, but we were all the way down here under Biden. It's crazy.
Trade deficit in 2024. I don't think that's fair to our country. I think the American people understand that, and I think they see a president who's engaging and trying to fix that. So we're going to give him the space necessary to do it, and we'll see how it all develops.
Do you think Trump's administration officials should brief members? I mean, some of your members are asking for a briefing at the very least to understand the strategy.
His office is directly engaged with members, and we'll have.
Do you expect them to talk to the conference, sir?
Yeah, so once again, we have a situation where Congress, which is the most ineffective institution in our government, right? There's not one institution that gets less done than Congress. Is upset that the President of the United States is getting things done. So they want to strip him of his ability to get things done, right? Again, this is what they did to Nixon back when he tried to impound funds in order to decrease inflation, in order to balance the budget. Congress said, no, we don't like the fact that you are impounding funds, therefore we're going to take away your ability to do it, right? And this is the same thing happening here, where they don't like the fact that President Trump is using tariffs to raise money for the government, to bring jobs back, to negotiate trade deals. Oh, we don't like it. The markets are falling, right? The rich are losing money, which apparently Elizabeth Warren is very upset about, right? The rich are losing money. So now all of a sudden they're upset and they want to take that power back from the president. Again, these people make me sick. This is why we need term limits, okay? This is why Congress is extremely unpopular, okay? They advocate literally to do nothing and to let our empire decline, right? Because that's what's happening right now. So the reality for Democrats is that Mike Johnson has already shot down this proposal. He's saying that, listen, we're going to give President Trump space. Senator John Thune, who is the leader of the Republicans.
Let me see this real quick.
Donald Trump. 50, 60 up. Honestly, we should be 100 up in women's sports and things like that. They want men and women's sports. They're still fighting for that. I saw this poor guy. You all know him. I won't mention his name. He's sort of a nice guy. He's a loser. He's a Democrat, but he's a loser. And he was fighting on a big show this morning. We've got to have that. It's not fair that essentially that men aren't allowed to compete against women. Can you believe this guy? But let them do it. I say we shouldn't be fighting a lot of these things. Just let them go. And then just before the next election, we'll unleash on them, because it would be very sad if they actually change their policies. We don't want that to happen. But we're going to win the midterm elections, and we're going to have a tremendous thundering landslide. I really believe that. And it's so important that we pass the big, beautiful bill, because that's going to be, and I really think we're helped a lot by the tariff situation that's going on, which is a good situation, not a bad. It's great. It's going to be legendary. You watch, legendary in a positive way, I have to say. It's going to be legendary. But I really think it actually puts pressure on those few Republicans that just can't get there. You know what the alternative is? A Democrat bill or a chapter for the country. You know, we have the debt continuation. And they have to do this. They have to get there. And I think we are there. We had a great meeting today. I think we are there. But just in case there are a couple of Republicans out there You just got to get there. Close your eyes and get there. It's a phenomenal bill. Stop grandstanding. Just stop grandstanding. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. You know, their policy, the Democrats, is horrible. It's horrible. Think of it, open borders, just all of the horrible, stupid things they have. You don't have energy, you don't have anything. They've lost their confidence. Everything is bad. But the one thing, they always vote in unison. You don't see somebody that's holding up. I'm going to hold up. And the alternative is hell. You know, the alternative is hell. So the Republicans, just that one little thing the Republican Party has to do is get together and damn vote. If you're a single guy or a second guy, and you fight like hell for what you get, and then in the end you have to vote because the policy is phenomenal. You know, they don't.
Y'all think Trump should get a third term?
Get every little ounce. It doesn't work that way. And this bill that we're working on now is the best I think we've ever passed. Mike, wherever you may be, it's the best. I think it's the best thing we'll get it passed. But I think it's going to be the most important thing we've ever passed. It's the best thing we've ever passed. And
somebody said, "Where's my moderators?" I let people come in here and troll. Like, I don't mind trolls. Like, I don't, like, you know, as long as they not like getting like super crazy. Like, I don't care. People can troll. I troll. I go. You know what I don't like when I go on people's YouTubes and it be all kind of rules. You can't do this. You can't do that. Make sure you don't say this. You don't offend. You don't like. You know, say what you want. Yeah, don't get super crazy, but say what you want.
I do think that the war with the world, which is not a war at all, because they're all coming here. Japan is coming here as we speak. They're in a plane flying, lots of them, all tough negotiators. But things that people wouldn't have given us 2 years ago, wouldn't have even thought of it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7, they're giving us everything. They don't want tariffs on themselves. And it's very simple. We're making deals and people are paying tariffs. Countries are paying tariffs. Right now, China's paying a 104% tariff. Think of it, 104%. Now, it sounds ridiculous, but they charged us for many items 100%, 125%. Many countries have. They've ripped us off left and right. But now it's our turn to do the ripping. That's okay.
Somebody said that's why I get 1,000 viewers and they get 50. Hey, but you know what's crazy? The people that don't be having that many viewers, they be having good opinions too. Like some of my favorite bloggers don't really have that many views.
Hey, we're gonna make our country even stronger than it ever was. In 2026, Republicans will fight for every state, every seat, and every single vote. We're going to fight like hell.
Yeah, exactly. I think, I mean, I can't really say this, but a lot of people think he won the presidency 3 times. You know what I mean? Being real. Look, this dude had the greatest comeback in political history. They weaponized the DOJ against him. He came back and still became president. Y'all don't think he won the other time? Like, I don't know.
I intend to personally campaign for candidates all across the country, and we just won't.
Yeah, exactly. No reply said, keep the chat section free and open. Who cares what people say? I'm a big believer in all engagement is good engagement. Yeah, man. Like, cause like even like I'll be watching the chat. Like I'll be watching people troll. Sometimes they troll and sometimes they say good things. You know what I mean? Sometimes the trolls, once they get serious, they might say something good. You know, it just depends.
You're right about that. We won't just keep our majorities. We want to expand our majorities by a lot. You know, there's this thing about midterm elections that you have a president and they never seem to win. I don't understand. They never seem to win the midterm elections. And I have no idea why. You know, we're not going to let that be a self-fulfilling prophecy. I have no idea why. We're setting records right now. We're getting more things approved than any president has ever done in the first 100 days. It's not even close. I had somebody say the most successful first month in the history. Now they said the most successful 100 days in the history of our country. And I believe that's right. And we're going to continue that way. If not,
there's no doubt. There is no doubt that he's got the best 100 days out of any president. No doubt. In terms of getting things done, Nobody is better than him.
More so, and we're going to do tremendously in midterms. There's no reason we should do great in the midterms. There's this thing that, for some reason, the president, whoever the president is, the midterms are tough. Why would they be tough? If we're doing great, they should be easy. And I'm telling you, we got to win a lot more. But as Mike said before, I happened to listen to him. He was on C-SPAN 1. That's a big upgrade.
And then y'all got to think about this too. Like people say with trolls, y'all know how much he get trolled. Like people like him, like he gets trolled like crazy, you know. But you gotta understand. You gotta know how to navigate and just deal with it. You know what I mean?
Right? I was listening as I was putting on the tie. How does it look? He was on C-SPAN 1.
Exactly. Terry Vining said other countries finally respect America again. That's how I feel.
They were talking about that, and I thought to myself, because people love him and they love your leaders, they love, really the party is just doing well. A couple we could do without, to be honest with you, but the party is doing well, and there's no reason we shouldn't just get together and win these midterms and win them by a lot, because 7 that I heard Mike talking about before, 7 is not really enough. But we lived for 1 for a period of time. You know, the only thing good about 7, when you have 1 and now all of a sudden you have 7, it sounds like it's like a landslide.
And then like eggs, somebody said my egg prices are still expensive. I don't know about yours, bro. I just went shopping today and my prices of everything was lower. But as far as why do you have to, are you addicted to eggs? Can you stop eating eggs for like a few weeks? Like the thing is, like, market also controls, like, you know, supply and demand, buying power. Like if things are too high, stop buying it. I'm not addicted to eggs. It's not even really good for you. It's like high in cholesterol. Just stop buying them. Buy something else. You know what I'm saying? I ain't addicted to no food. Like I could stop eating anything. You know what I'm saying? I'm big, but I could stop. You know what I'm saying? I'm tall, stocky, but I could stop eating anything. Like, but I mean, I have seen, and you know, one store prices are different at different stores. Publix is going to cost more than Kroger. Kroger is going to cost more than Walmart. You know, just figure out a different store to go to. Maybe you're going to like Whole Foods or something. I don't know. But egg prices, like where I in Tennessee, is lower. I don't eat eggs all like that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I eat eggs probably like once every couple weeks. Like I'm not a big egg eater. But I mean, I ain't got no problems with eggs. I don't eat a whole lot of breakfast. But, you know, just eat something else.
It's so good. It's like
most. You know, driving to go get eggs, your gas is cheaper, the oil prices is cheaper. You know, all of that is cheaper.
Amazing thing. 7 sounds so good when I hear that. It sounds like we can't be beaten. And we should be 50, 60 up. Honestly, we should be 100 up.
But shout out to everybody. We got 1,000 in the chat. You know what I'm saying? I can go all night, but I got work. You know what I'm saying? I'm a working person. You know what I mean? But it was cool to kick it with y'all for a few hours. If y'all can, subscribe to the channel. And then, you know what I mean? When I do upload, I haven't uploaded a video in like over a month. That's crazy. I just seen that. But if I upload, watch the uploads. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate everybody for subscribing. We got 400 subscribers today. Appreciate that, y'all. You know what I'm saying? But come already subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that. Also, keep an open mind, you know, and I don't have any problems like with any Democrats coming in here and saying what they got to say. You know, I think this is a good thing to have an open forum. Maybe y'all might have something to say that I may not be thinking about. You know, and as you've seen with Christian Medwood, he's been in here for a while. I'll read what he's got to say. And he's like a Democrat that's been in here for a while, you know. But as a whole, I think we need to try to figure out a way to make America great, you know. And it's nothing wrong with a president looking at the American people as somebody that he needs to be putting his focus on. And I like that. I love it. You know what I'm saying? But